OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Friday morning, you're welcome along to OTB AM. Adrian with you this morning. We've dumped out Owen Sheehan today. He's gone off in his jollies. And so, a little known presenter by the name of Kevin Kilbane. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you keeping?
How are you getting on?
All's good. Very good indeed.
I'm delighted to see you.
I'm delighted to see you, yeah. Well, I saw you a couple of weeks ago, didn't I?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just delighted that you're here and you've made it. And
why wouldn't it be?
It's just you're never 100% sure with these things.
I said, well, these early starts, I'm not a morning man, as you know.
What a week. How's life?
Everything's good, yeah. I had a week in Florida, so I'm just back from Florida Tuesday. And all's good, yeah. All's very, very good.
Nice bit of a break.
Yeah, nice. It's hardly a break. It's hardly a break when you go to Florida around Busch Gardens and Universal Studios, all this sort of. But it's good. Good.
Yeah,
very, very good.
Highly recommended.
Brilliant. What a week.
You don't know what to do with yourself since Love Island is over, I presume.
You know for a fact I'd never entertained that.
Have you watched it?
I'd never entertained that.
I watched the last. I got into it with about 10 days to go.
No, I'd never entertain it in my house.
Would you not?
No, it would never even.
Tommy Fury was on it. Tyson Fury's brother.
Yeah, I heard that. Didn't see it. I'd follow it via. Well, I wouldn't say I'd follow it. Sometimes it comes into your timeline on Twitter, so you might see the odd comment about it. But no, I've absolutely.
Longford connections on it. You've Longford connections.
Yeah, that's right. My mum's from Longford, as you know. Zero interest,
right.
Adrian. Zero interest.
Okay,
yeah, I could put that to bed clearly now because I don't have a clue what's happened. I just hear these names and that's it. It's meaningless.
We've loads coming up. You're going to talk to us a bit about the championship a little bit later on, and it obviously gets underway this weekend, tonight in fact, and so plenty to look forward to.
It's a good start tonight actually, so look,
Irish players. See a bit of a flavour of what's coming up there. The sports page in just a few minutes time we'll talk championship with Kev. We're going to get stuck into the latest transfers as well, a bit of some exciting news for Arsenal in the last 24 hours that we'll talk to Kev about. Not so much action at Liverpool as well. Alan Quinlan's going to talk to us about how we're going to beat New Zealand, particularly those Gregor Paul comments during the week about their dealing with the rush defence. So Quinny's going to talk us through all of that on the tactics board, tell us exactly what it'll mean for us come World Cup time. It's Ruby versus Punter again, the latest instalment there. We'll see how the lads got on yesterday, and as well mark a card for today's card at the Galway Races. The sports news with Will just after 9, and Dave Brady as well is going to preview Mayo Donegal. Really is the only game to talk about this weekend. Are you pumped, buzzing? Are you going?
I'm going, yeah, heading to Castlebar tomorrow, yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
What are you thinking?
Donegal heavy favourites should win the game, shouldn't they? That's probably that's the way it is. To be fair,
we have had a change of co-hosts this morning, but it's the same outlook of this absolute nonsense of like I mean, our lads aren't up to much.
No, they're not.
Just be delighted to be there.
Well, exactly what it was. I think it's a testament to that squad of players, what they've done with the injuries that they've had this year. So to Mayo, right, considering where they've got to now. So
there is a bit of a swing of momentum when you consider like some of the key Donegal players struggling a bit and maybe out in Paddy McBrearty's
talking about Paddy McBrearty being
and
out,
maybe like momentum swing Mayo's way the other way, because there are obviously players coming back, significant players.
Yeah, it's just game time, isn't it? That's the thing. It's not as if, I mean, obviously behind closed door games are the ones where James Horan will be judging and gauging what he's got, but I just think that lack of competitive games, I think that could go against them. Jim O'Connor, you know, there's talk that he could be, but we'll see what the story is. But I think, I don't know.
Even having him on the bench, to be honest with you,
I agree.
15 minutes of him at the end when the game's in the melting pot.
Yeah, well, I think that's the way it's been certainly with Andy Moore. If you look at the Meath game a couple of weeks ago, having him on the bench, coming off the bench, it was a game changer. So yeah, I think having one or two players that could come off the bench, it could make that big difference.
It's mad that Castlebar is seen almost as a negative to some degree from a Mayo point of view, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Roscommon game, and I think after the start of the game, there was a real, I don't know, you know when you're at games and you get that real negative feel around the ground when something's gone wrong so early in the match, and you could feel it almost, or you could see it, drain out the players. It was quite draining for them. I think this game's very different though, because this is almost, look,
backs to the wall.
Backs to the wall, one big push. So I think it's, like you said, the only game this weekend. It's going to be amazing. I do feel like, yeah.
Geez, if I'm Donegal, I have to say, the main focus with me for the last week will have been, listen, let's get a fast start here. Let's put them back in their heels. Let's get the negative feeling around the ground, because like the evidence of it is there.
Yeah.
try and get that fast start, try and get some points on the board, have the team second guessing themselves, have the crowd second guessing themselves.
Yeah, the pitch as well. They talk the pitch isn't great up there as well, so that's another thing as well. But I think the way that both teams play, I think it'll be entertaining. And any game with Mayo at the moment, it's certainly entertaining, isn't it? No matter who they play.
Well, no.
Why?
Well, because I have to say, like the Mayo Kerry game, I was away and I made great efforts to sit down and watch the thing, and it was done after 10 minutes. It was supposed to be the game of the summer.
Well, I'd say that's your only one this year watching Mayo. I was up and down. I was at the Almar game, and you're watching the games and anything can happen with them. That's the thing. And then even the Meath game, it wasn't a great game. It wasn't a great game to watch. But Meath were in with a great chance of winning the game. That's the thing. Yeah. Anyone can beat them. Yet you always or anyone would feel they can beat them. Yet you know full well if they turn it on in certain spells in the games, it's just great football. It's just great to watch, and that's the way that it's going to be this weekend. It'll be so open. I do think it's just going to be a brilliant game to watch. And as I said, the drama. That's the way that it is with Mayo.
Are you going to do your usual Sunday game interview on the way into the match?
I've never done that.
They normally sort of ping you for a few quick words or a photograph.
Never
or
once.
Some sort of
never once. It just never happened.
Celebrity interviews.
No, as I said,
pre-game celebrity interviews.
No, it's never happened
Has
once.
it not?
So I don't know where you're getting that
photographs,
from.
Maybe. There's definitely been photographs.
There's been one photograph. One photograph.
Crow Park.
Yeah, Crow Park. Yeah, that was it. So yeah, again, just rubbish. Yeah.
Speaking of Sunday game, there's an incredible piece of writing in the Irish Daily Star this morning by Ger Loughnane in reaction to the Donald Cusack, Derek McGrath controversial comments as they've been positioned. It's an incredible piece.
What's he saying? Are you on about this one? I've obviously not read it yet.
We'll come to it in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It's like I mean, you should buy the Daily Star today on the basis of that piece alone. It's worth reading. It's maybe the most scathing piece of Irish journalism I have ever read.
Yeah. I'll have a look.
And I'm not one for hyperbole, Kev. You know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Understated. One thing that we had spoken about doing, the fact that we had you in, it kind of struck me that like. We've spoken to you about so many topics to do with your career, but I was trying to rack my brains about stuff that we just have failed to ask you up to this point, and stuff we really should sort of tick off the list at some point. And so this morning is that morning.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
What time are we doing that?
We're going to kick it off right now.
Have we?
Yeah.
We've got time for that.
Pepper it throughout the show. We always have time for it, Kev.
Yeah.
There's a few comments you can see on your screen there from people that have been in touch. We're going to come to some of those a little bit later on because I had some of my own to kick things off. So we're going to come back to some of those. Do get them in if you have any questions for Kev in relation to his career. In relation to his career. Like, don't give us the typical stuff. We don't want that, like who's the hardest player you ever played against, or, you know, the most skillful. We've had enough of that. We've done that 20 times over, let's face it. So it's the other questions, right? So the stuff that I was kind of thinking about was, what's your favourite bit of career memorabilia?
I've spoken to you before. I never collected shirts really. I didn't go searching for shirts. The only shirts I would swap is if someone asked me for a shirt during or after games. So I never had shirts like that.
You had the ball, obviously, that you dropped into us.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I left that in, and Kenny was disgusted that I left it in. But in all honesty, it was in my house, and it wasn't out or anything. I mean, it's brilliant. It's great that we've got all the signatures of the lads on it. Things like that from the World Cup. Yeah, most, yeah. But things from the World Cup was great. That time was just.
This one here. I'm sitting in the way of it. There we go. Look.
Yeah, take it out.
There.
But things like that, things from the World Cup.
You're not mad for memorabilia, you know?
No, I never had it around the house. You know when you see lads with photographs of the shirts around the house. Yeah. No, do you know what? As daft as it sounds, I just used to think, what you act like, you're at home now, you're away from your work. Why on earth would you be having shirts of players that you've played against in your house? I'd think it's a bit of an embarrassment.
Really?
I just couldn't. I couldn't get my head round lads going up to people and asking for shirts and then putting it in your house.
You're playing against the original Ronaldo.
Yeah.
At Lansdowne Road.
Yeah.
Would you not be like, whew, Jesus, that's a shirt now I'd like to have at home?
No.
I definitely would.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up adoring football. I did, watch and 86 World Cup, watching those players like Maradona and all these lads, and then watching 88 and seeing all the lads doing well. And if it was people like that, yeah. But lads that I was playing against, you see the old one with Robbie Keane where he never asked for lads' shirts and things. You hear David Miley, where I think was talking about.
Bullshit.
No, but It wasn't because of what Roy. It was just within me. I didn't care for it.
I understand that. Like, you see this stuff at half time, or like you were saying just there, some lad comes up to you in the middle of the game and is like, "Here, listen, just by the way, at the end."
Yeah,
right? Like,
that happened a good few times.
But like at the end of the game, why would you not? Like, but so do you don't have? You have some jerseys? Do you?
I have jerseys, but they're under my bed.
Yours or others?
Others, a few others.
Did you ever instigate a swapping of a jersey?
No, I didn't. Maybe only after games. It would have been someone I was in direct competition with as a right back. And I said it before. I played in the World Cup in 2002 against Puyol. Carlos Puyol was playing right back directly against me. I didn't really know him at the time. He asked me shirt after the match, but it was just like we swap. Yeah. That was it. It was.
That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, but
you have that shirt, do you?
I've got Puyols in the house. Right. Yeah, I've got. I think I've got a Van Hooijdonk shirt somewhere as well. Right. Van Hooijdonk asked for a swap when we played against Holland in 01. It was, wasn't it? Things like that. But I never instigated it. Right. It was just if someone was up against, fancy swapping, take a shirt and that's it. And it was never me running across the pitch. I remember I've played with lads. Certainly, if you're looking at the Brazil game, chasing Ronaldinho across the pitch trying to get Ronaldinho's shirt. You know, it's like, lads, come on, like.
Who did that?
I'm not saying. No, lads would have asked on the pitch, like, any chance after the game. Yeah. Like,
I think that's not on.
It's not on.
Maybe in a friendly. In a friendly, I might be able to.
It's ridiculous, Adrian. Come on.
Do you know that I bought a turnstile from the old Lansdowne Road?
I remember you telling me that, yeah. But that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I like that, yeah. I've actually done. It's rusting away in my father's garage at the minute, so I need to actually. I'd like to do something with it. I just don't know what. I have it for like 10 years.
It's one of those things you buy, and it's cool to buy, but what do you do with it?
No idea. Like, I googled before.
I can imagine your wife at home, you bring it in, look, I'll tell you what, we're going to put this in the house.
Oh, she wouldn't be
Get that out.
She would not be having it.
Yeah, but it is cool. That's the sort of thing that I like, but you ask about memorabilia. No, I didn't. I didn't really keep it, honestly. I didn't treasure it like that, no.
What would you say is your worst decision in sport, your worst sporting decision?
I wouldn't say worst sporting decision, but certainly regret probably not going to Liverpool when I should have gone to Liverpool in '99. I should have gone. I should have just because I think it would probably have been less pressure going to Liverpool in many respects. You're going to a club at the time, but it was just. I was told, look, you're going to play in the reserves for a year. It might, and I felt, well, I'm an international. I'm playing.
That was '99, was it? That what you say?
It was '99, yeah. It was after the Turkey playoff games, so it was just
21, 22.
Yeah, 21, 22. Yeah, that's what it would have been. So anyway, it didn't happen. I ended up going to Sunderland because Peter Reid was basically saying, "Look, we want you to go and play." That I wouldn't say it's a regret, but it's something that I think it would have helped me progress, and I think I probably would have got better being in an environment around those players that were at Liverpool at the time. But
and why did it not happen?
Because I didn't want it to happen. There was a few in when I was at West Brom at the time, and Gerard Houllier was manager of Liverpool. Just basically, he was chatting to my agent, just saying, "Look, he's not going to play. He's going to come in. He'll be on the bench. He'll be around the first team squad. He'll be obviously training with us day to day, but he's with a view to the future going forward." And I just felt that I wanted to play games. And Peter Reid basically said to me, "You're going to play every week. You're going to be in straight in the first team." Sunderland were going well at the time. I think they were top 4 or 5 in the Premier League at the time when I went in there. So it was. You'd
like to have gone in hindsight, give it a bash for a year.
I think it would have been less pressure. You know, I think it would have been where you're proving yourself again. Although it would have been a high profile move in many respects. I would have fancied my chance. I would have said, well, look, over time I'll definitely prove myself, and it would have taken us in the pressure off in terms of I would have been that squad player that's having to go on and progress. And
who would you have been competing with at that time?
I don't know who would have been there. It would have been Berger, people like that. I think it probably would have been. I don't know. I didn't really look at that.
Yeah.
Once that message was coming to me, it was like, nah, I don't fancy it.
I'd written down here one team you wished you'd play for. You had
Celtic.
played for
Celtic. Yeah. I was a Celtic fan, massive Celtic fan growing up, so it would have always been Celtic.
Never came up, or?
Yeah, I could have gone to Celtic. We were actually up for Jackie McNamara's testimonial. So Brian Kerr was manager, and I was called to the Celtic boardroom after the game. They were in the middle of changing managers. And I'd agreed a contract at Everton. I hadn't signed it, but I'd agreed a new contract at Everton.
Was it Martin?
Martin was just leaving, and Gordon Strachan was taking over, and I was told Gordon Strachan's given 4 names, or 5 names I think it was actually, that we want to sign. You're on that list, we want to sign you. we want to bring you in. And Peter Lawler had maybe seen some interviews that I'd done where I'd spoken about being a Celtic fan growing up, and he was playing the Celtic card with me. Of
course he was.
You want to play here, you know, money won't be great coming in here, but you know, you're a Celtic man. Yeah. Imagine a Kilbane in the Celtic shirt. He was giving me all that, all those lines, but it was nothing to. I would have gone if I hadn't agreed the contract with Everton, but I'd agreed a deal. I'd gone initially into Everton. Everton just took my contract over to the end of that first season. And I'd agreed it all with David Moyes and with the club, and I just said, look, I've agreed a contract, and I'm not reneging on that. So that was it, really. Yeah. And then I could have gone. When Neil Lennon was manager, when I was up at Hull, I could have gone in for a 6 month loan, with a view to staying on beyond that season. And I was actually pushing more for that, and then it never happened. There was one or two things that were happening at Hull, and it just didn't happen, didn't really materialise. So I'm not saying that could have happened really, but it was on the cards.
You
again.
didn't want to do an Alan Shearer on it. Wasn't Shearer? Was it Shearer who had agreed to go to United? Am I right on that?
Well, I think he could have gone to United anyway, couldn't he? Yeah, definitely.
There was a player who had, and he'd agreed verbally with Ferguson that he was going to United.
That was a famous one, Robbie Keane, wasn't it? He'd agreed with Kenny Dalglish at Blackburn.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
He'd agreed. Everything was agreed, and then he went to United. Yeah.
We've shot here. You mentioned Carlos Puyol. There you are.
Yeah, there you go. That me shooting with my right foot there.
What are you doing? Yeah, Puyol's.
That's probably the one. The famous picture of missing.
I just asked you for my shirt.
Yeah, bad miss. That was the miss. I think that was the miss.
The miss.
I think it was. Yeah. Jeez. That's the regret. That's the regret.
yeah. You can't take that one back.
Yeah.
One last one, because we put it up on social media last night, and there's a whole pile of people get in touch with a range of interesting questions, Kev, which we'll dot throughout the show and bring to you a bit later on. But the last one for me for the minute: craziest fad that you ever got into, like the Robbie Fowler style sort of nose bands or whatever.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? One summer, it was actually around this time now. I went away in the summer. The time you're supposed to be enjoying yourself, I literally just went a total health freak. You know, I was about maybe 30, 31. You know, when you're thinking stage of your career, I want to prolong your career as long as you can. Cut everything out of my diet, went on no drink, everything, just totally off it. And
what were you eating?
I was no butter, off dairy, things like that.
Right.
I don't really have dairy anyway.
The diet that was all meat.
Oh, Atkins.
Atkins diet.
Yeah, it wasn't
that one, was it?
No, it wasn't that. It was basically no carbs after around about 5 o'clock in the evening.
Right.
So you're stocking up after training, things like this. It's basically stuff that we'd all know.
Yeah. Not bad idea.
But I don't know. I ended up I lost a lot of weight, and I ended up like just not feeling healthy. Yeah. I didn't feel strong enough when I was playing, and so there's things like that. I
presume there's stuff in the dressing room around the training ground all the time. The players are like, "Oh, I've just found this thing. It's the greatest thing since sliced pan. It's going to give you the edge." Was that a thing?
There was bits of that. Yeah, bits of that. Nothing that would stick out in the mind, but little things like that. Lad, I remember a couple of lads when I was maybe again around about 30. Lads you'd speak to. Lads went off to. There was this place in Italy which was basically a detox place. You went there for a week's holiday. Wasn't necessarily a holiday. You basically went there just to starve yourself for a week. Liquid diets, eating no crap at all, just going through. So I remember a couple of lads did that. I think Emile Heskey did that one year. I think he did it a couple of years. But that was kind of a common thing with a few of the United lads. I think Ryan Giggs famously spoken out about that. Yeah, about this place in Italy, which was it's a detox place essentially, where you just try and get all toxins, all the shite out your system, and then
because. Jeez, wow. I mean, I could understand Emile Heskey because he was always a bigger lad, whereas Ryan Giggs never struck me as somebody who was. But I mean, who knows what's going on in the background, I suppose. But wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't really. Yeah, in saying that, there was lads coming in with those sort of things as well, and maybe lads speaking to the fitness coaches and nutritionists at the time as well, and you were trying to follow different diets and things like that. Yeah, but I don't know. You say go through certain stages. You hear so much through your career in relation to diet, in relation to fitness, in relation to your body, and you're taking it on as you're going through, you're progressing. Yeah.
One last one before we leave it. We will come back to it. What could you have played for Mayo? Like, I mean, I don't know. Is it a? Would you have?
I never played Gaelic as a kid. I used to go and watch with my dad and my uncle.
If all that hadn't happened, and your parents had just stayed at home, and
who knows? I don't know. I think probably physically, my physical attributes when I was coming through probably would have suited the game. Yeah.
What would you have been? Would you have been a midfielder? Probably not.
I was a runner. I was definitely a runner. I was like.
You'd have been a wing back, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Wing back would have.
Wing back. Yeah, I'd say that would have been my position. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, get your questions in for Kev. We're going to, between now and 9:30, bring much more of those to him. As I said, there was some absolute belters coming through last night, so we'll bring those to Kev as they come in. The papers in just a minute. We mentioned the Irish Daily Star. That's going to be our first stop as we get to them. Before that, take a quick look at this.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorry golf clinic and a live Off the Ball roadshow. You can also hang out with some special guests including Kevin Kilbane and Kieran Donaghy. The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
Alright, it's just gone 10 to 8 on this Friday morning. Time for the newspapers. So we're going to kick things off here with the Irish Daily Star for you. Cusack stand is the appropriate headline here in the back in a photograph. Donald Cusack, under fire pundit hits back at critics. So Donald had his say yesterday. There was, I don't need to repeat everything that happened in terms of his comments to Derek McGrath's at the weekend, but he was speaking yesterday and said that, gave a bit of context to his comments and said that when he had come in, it was a bit of an old boys club and he had to shake things up, and that was a process that he'd been through and that he feels he's entitled to make the points he needs to make. That's the story that's there. And then down here, Gerlachnan, Muppets McGrath and Donald driven by their pathetic egos. Says Gerlachnan there. I'm going to come back to that story in a little bit when we get through all the back pages because, as I said, I think it's maybe the most scathing piece of Irish journalism I've ever encountered. So we'll come back to it. And also, Emery has Pepe in step. This is the signing of Nicholas Pepe for the Gunners ahead of the new season. That's the Irish Daily Star. Yeah,
I have the Sun here as well. Burned, that's the main one there. Talking about Shamrock Rovers getting knocked out of the Europa League last night to Apollon Limassol. Obviously didn't see the game, but I mean, in relation to Jack Byrne as well, I think Jack Byrne's been in great form. I think he's got a great chance of maybe making the Ireland squad again. Going out last night, though, it was probably that maybe they stepped too far. They got themselves into extra time, went out in extra time. Good performance by all accounts. I think over the 2 legs he played quite well from what I hear as well. I was away last week as well, so I didn't even get a chance to see the first leg of that. I saw the second leg against Bran, where they actually played quite well, but anyway, they're gone. And then, of course, Nick's French Connection, French Connection, should I say, Nicholas Pepe has joined Arsenal. That's been done and dusted now, so that's a big deal for Arsenal.
Yeah, huge.
We'll come back to that one, I think, when we're chatting around the football in a bit, yeah.
The Irish Examiner, meanwhile, it's more on that Donald Cusack comments yesterday, including saying that he is interested in taking the Cork hurling reins. We'll see how that plays out over the next little while. He might be in a good position to do that. Power Surge is the other piece here. This is Robbie Power. Electrifying finish sees Tudor City snatch Galway hurdle. The big story from Galway yesterday. I think most people delighted for Robbie Power. Pretty patient. Did you watch that? Patient.
No, do you know?
You've checked out, Kev.
Do you know what? Last week, I missed the hurling at the weekend with being away, and even that you're going about the panel on RTE at the weekend as well. I didn't see the Sunday game because I was away. Yeah. So getting back in, I have kind of checked out. I've been off it. Been off the radar a bit this week. I've not even been watching the races, which is very unusual because I'd love it. I'd normally watch it all, but not watching it this week. We're
going to talk to Ruby Walsh a bit later on about we're going to ask him specifically about just somebody who knows a thing or two about these things, just how good that ride was by Robbie Power yesterday, and get his tips, obviously, as well as Joe Walsh, all in association with Paddy Power. We're going to get their tips to see exactly where they're at in their competition this week, and get mark your card as well for today and for the weekend as well.
Yeah, the next one is the Mirror. Harry Potter. Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire is desperate to secure his dream move to Man United. Looks like he's trying to get that one through. Now, this is the fee. United's offer of 70 million, which could rise to 80, is unacceptable from what Leicester are saying. They're holding out for 90 million. This looks like it's going to happen. Now, whether or not they talk of City that might come in late to try and hijack this move, but it looks like he's going to United. That's a massive one for Man United.
He's on the brink of doing a Peter Odom wingy by all accounts. Looking at that, he's sort of semi-refusal to play there.
There's talk as well that it could have a bit of a knock-on effect, that move as well, that if he were to go to United, Leicester are going to sign Dunk from Brighton. Brighton then are going to sign the lad from Bristol City. I'll think of his name in a sec for you. Is it Edwards? And then there's Kieran Clark. Then will go to Bristol City. Right. So there's a knock-on effect that could affect one of the Irish players as well within this one. Yeah.
And it would mean that there's no more Duncan Duffy at Brighton as well.
Yeah. It's a great move for Lewis Dunk, isn't it? If that was to happen for him anyway. Yeah.
The Irish Independent this morning, it's a picture of pretty disconsolate Jack Byrne there, as Kev mentioned on the back page after Shamrock Rovers' exit last night. Heartbreak for Hoops. Extra time agony sees Rovers crash out of Europe. Moran makes welcome Kingdom return. This is the Kerry team, for what it's worth, that has been named to take on Meath at the weekend. And also James Corrigan writing here that the Danish golfer Thorbjorn Olesen, who, as he writes, made a successful debut in last year's Ryder Cup, is being investigated by police after being arrested on suspicion of sexual assault on a flight returning from last weekend's WGC event on the PGA Tour. James Corrigan writes that Olesen had tweeted his disappointment of finishing 27th. The 29-year-old was in first-class cabin in Sunday's British Airways flight from Nashville to Heathrow, along with Ian Poulter. Poulter had stepped in to try and pacify Olesen, it seems, who was allegedly abusing fellow passengers and crew. Poulter fell asleep before Olesen continued to bother other passengers and urinated in an aisle in the cabin, and police, needless to say, were waiting to pick him up as he arrived, and he is facing some pretty serious charges now. That's the Irish Independent this morning.
Yeah, we got the Guardian here. Comeback kid Smith beats the Booze to hit England. They're under pressure. I think Australia in the Ashes didn't again.
280 yards, they recovered at the end, Australia.
Yeah, I think they're in trouble. They're in serious trouble, I think, early on. So, yeah, 284 all out. England are in now, 10 for no wickets.
Yeah, same story on the Times this morning. England fear as Anderson suffers injuries. It was the return of Stephen Smith yesterday was obviously one of the big things in the Booze, and apparently there's a bunch of people waving sandpaper in the crowd. This was the guy who people probably have some recollection that he was done for ball tampering, and he had a bit of sandpaper in his pocket and he was like chafing away at the ball and giving himself an extra bit of an edge, and then came out afterwards and was like utterly distraught and tearful about, I mean, I think about how he'd been caught, and as opposed to the act itself. But then afterwards, you just had this like litany of players coming forward to say, yeah, sure, like
that's done. That's
all scratched. Monty Panesar did an interview on TalkSport at one point where I think he might have released a book, and the former England bowler, and he was saying, yeah, sure, like it seemed like he wandered sort of blissfully into these comments about, well, like sure, yeah, we all did a bit of ball tampering. It's just the way it happens.
Yeah, I know.
So I was kind of wondering, why don't they could very easily get around all this by, between every ball that's bowled, the bowler has to throw the ball to the umpire. Quick run of the hand over it, like takes half second for that entire process to happen. Gives the ball back to him, bowls it down.
I think even with that as well, though, it's obviously the ball's taking a lot of hits throughout, isn't it? So it's going to get some sort of marks.
But that'll be just an organic thing that the umpire will be able to feel as he goes. Like,
I suppose you could tell,
like if 5 balls in, he's like, woof, Jesus, this thing is scuffed to shit. He's like, well, that's not a natural progression.
It's logical, isn't it? That's logical, really. It would be an easy thing to do, definitely, yeah.
Are you into the cricket?
No, not really.
Not having it?
No. I was never allowed to watch that at home as a kid.
Oh, you're not? Get that off. Was that it?
Yeah.
Did you ever bat around a bit, or like, because you would have got mates?
Just lashing balls as a kid, but no, I never really played it. I played for my school team once when the football season had ended, so obviously it was through the summer and that was it, but no.
You never went home and said, listen, Dad, you won't believe what happened today.
Oh, get out! Get out!
You're not a son of mine!
Yeah, it was pretty much that, yeah.
Have you any other papers there?
Oh, yeah, I've got the Herald here, yeah. This is a piece with Kieran Whelan here. 10 years on, the Ewigs are not easily started. So this is in relation to obviously the weekend's football ahead, and I mean it's more looking at Dublin really. They're around. I mean it's a dead rubber this weekend, isn't it? The Tyrone game for them, isn't it? So it's looking ahead really for the semis for them, and we'll see how that goes, I suppose. Yeah.
The Irish Times this morning, the main story here, the front page of the Irish Times sports section, is reflections on last weekend's hurling with Jackie Turrell and Denny and O'Riordan writing down here, may all face what amounts to a must-win game to go through. So obviously that's looking ahead to Castlebar.
There's one thing, sorry, just in the Herald as well, Adrian, just on, we've not really touched on it, it's the Community Shield final this week. I'm actually at Wembley for the game, so get back in from Castlebar. I'm flying into London on Sunday for that. This is about Klopp needs to lay down a marker against Man City. It's interesting because there's a few negative comments that's coming. I'll probably get into Liverpool. I think later on we'll have a chat around Liverpool and the lack of transfer activity that's gone on this season with them. But they've not had a great pre-season. Obviously Firmino, Mane and Salah have all been playing international football, so when are they going to get up to speed? When are they going to get right? Maybe something we'll get into a little bit later as well. Do you think maybe Klopp should have gone into the market? Should they have decided? But that seems to me, it seems like it's the club's policy this summer. Look, we've made some big signings over the last few seasons.
Give me some money, like we can kick on here. And the club are just saying, listen, forget about it. We're thereabouts, we're happy enough.
Yeah, that's it. It'd be an interesting one, yeah.
The last one for me for the minute, the Daily Telegraph redemption for Smith. Those headlines absolutely drive me bonkers. It's not redemption for Smith. Like, there is no redemption about it. He did what he did. He
served his ban.
He cheated.
Yeah.
He served his ban. He's back. It's not redemption.
Is it not?
He's just back. You can't redeem something having made an absolute idiot of himself by cheating.
Yeah, but he's redeeming himself in the Australians' fans' eyes, isn't
There's no redemption. It's like he hasn't. The redemption aspect of it is to suggest that he gets to wipe the slate clean and say, well, that never happened, and look what a great cricketer I am. It's not. Like, that still exists. There's no redemption in it.
Oh, well.
It's just such an easy throwaway. You see it all the time in sports. Somebody does something utterly stupid and ridiculous that will be forever on their CV. And then they go ahead and score a big goal in a big game, and it's like, he's been redeemed for shooting a village of 47 people 4 weeks ago. That's not what happened. He just scored a good goal. That's all that happened.
Well, you need that big moment almost so you can put it aside, though, isn't it?
It'd be bonkers, Kev.
Well, I know, obviously, clearly.
They're all the headlines across the back pages this morning. The one story that we did want to, at just gone 8 o'clock on this Friday morning, delve into a small bit was the story in the back page of the Irish Daily Star this morning. Gerlach Nan, Muppets McGrath and Donalogue driven by their pathetic egos. This is the reflections on the controversial comments on the Sunday game last weekend. So Ger's had a thing or two to say about a thing or two.
Have you highlighted a few bits?
Yeah, highlighted.
Go on, hit me.
That's what happens with the highlighter of a Friday morning. I go through the papers and try and pick out a couple, because you can't be going through reading out the full article, boring the shit out of people. So you try and go through it and pick out what might be the couple of key quotes. Like, it was kind of difficult to narrow this one down, Kev. I'm not going to lie to you. There's so much good stuff in it. So I'll just read a few select and try and do as much justice as I can. Like, he borderline... I mean, he steps over the line here, I think, quite significantly on a number of occasions, and I will be fascinated to see what is, if there is anything said in return. The context of this entire piece is that, Ger may well have an axe to grind, having been a previous Sunday game pundit, having been potentially one of the people that was been spoken about, that I mentioned at the start about Donalogue talking about the old boys club that existed at RT when he went in there. So he could probably rightfully deduce that he was one of those people that Donalogue was talking about. And he has taken it to heart and has had a lash out today. He says about over the past 5 years, because of the quality of the hurling controversy has been rare, but he says on 2 occasions in that time, I've been stunned by the aggressive nature of hurling supporters when they feel they've been shortchanged. One of them, he says, was the infamous Slittergate incident a few years ago when Cork goalkeeper Anthony Nash had his bag stolen from behind the goal. He had a load of balls in it, and somebody related to the Clare backroom team had gone over at some point or another during the game and taken the balls from him to throw him off his stride a bit. And everybody assumes that it was, I can't remember if it was admitted to at the time or if everybody just assumed, or there was video footage that it was Donalogue that had gone around to do that. And Ger goes on, he says, the other occasion was last Sunday night, and Monday morning, he writes here, following the night game edition of the Sunday game. By the first commercial break, I got 9 texts, and by noon on Monday, my phone was red hot. On Sunday night, the mood was one of fury, and on Monday, people I met were just disgusted that such great games, marvellous managers and heroic players had been treated with such disrespect. So he's setting out his stall. It's pretty clear, it's pretty direct, the point he's trying to make. Of course, the common denominator to both controversies is Donalogue Cusack. He writes, coached Clare in 2017 and now back in the Sunday Game studio as an analyst. So he goes on to sort of further elaborate on like some pretty cutting comments, I would say, about Derek McGrath and Donalogue Cusack here. And he goes on to sort of make the point that, like, why weren't they talking about the quality of the games, like I said, and Davy Fitzgerald, particularly in the masterclass that he had almost pulled off, I suppose. He says what Davy did was clever, innovative and effective, and every knowledgeable person I met appreciated this. This is what Cusack and McGrath should have focused on, but of course if they did, they'd have to explain why neither of them used a spare man in this creative way. So it became all about justifying themselves, with both exposing their pathetic egos.
Jesus.
And the killer line, Kev, towards the end of the piece, the magical weekend of hurling was nearly ruined by 2 Egypts of megalomaniacs behaving like Statler and Waldorf on the Muppet Show.
Oh, God.
Like, he really, normally, Ger's pretty forthright and like such an interesting character when it comes to commentary and sport in general. We've certainly done pieces with him over the years. Just an interesting guy. But I mean, I think, to be honest with you, he's overstepped the mark in terms of his the personal nature.
He obviously feels that the attack on him, and he's had to come out in his mind all guns blazing. I'm going to give it back.
Yeah, I think it's too much. I think that he could have made his point. Like, the personal nature of the response there is probably undermines his point in an overall sense, because he obviously has an axe to grind that he's. But I do recommend that you read the full piece. There's much more along those lines in it this morning, and it's a story that obviously keeps on giving, those comments from Donal Logue and Derek McGrath last weekend. So that's pretty much it from the newspapers this morning. It's just gone 5 minutes past 8 on this Friday morning. We are delighted to have you along with us. We've got loads to come. We're going to talk to Ruby Walsh a little bit later in the show. See you get on how he got on with his tips yesterday. And Mark a card as well for today, and he'll be on over the weekend as well to do all of that in association with Paddy Power. We're also going to talk to Alan Quinlan, who's going to also mark our card ahead of the Rugby World Cup. Obviously the Rugby Championship in full flight, and New Zealand South Africa drawing last weekend. Some interesting propositions obviously for us in the quarter-final context of the World Cup to come, so that's all en route. We're going to talk to David Brady, we hope, as well, before we leave you at 9:30 to look ahead to Mayo Donegal and see exactly how he feels this game is going to go, because it is definitely the most intriguing of the weekend. Kev is going to preview the Championship, which gets underway this evening, and some of the movers and shakers in the transfer window as well to do the Premier League, so plenty of hot takes, I'm told, on the way with Kev on all of that shortly. But we have got some brilliant prizes up for grabs on this morning's OTB AM. There's a Wilson racket to win every morning this week, and also the overall prize for a trip to Madrid for 2 nights with tickets to the Davis Cup semis. And it's all with thanks to Tennis Ireland. So remember, the AIG Irish Open Tennis Championship runs all this week. It's at Carrickmines Croquet and Lawn Tennis Club, and a host of international players and show there. Entry is free, so check it out at tennisireland.ie for much more information. As I said, it's 8 minutes past 8 on this Friday morning. We're going to discuss discussing the return of Diarmuid Connolly to the Dublin panel. The former Kerry manager Pat O'Shea was at our outside broadcast in Killarney during the week with thanks to SuperValue, and the multiple All-Ireland winner Darren O'Sullivan was there as well, and they all consider the ill effects that Jim Gavin's decision may have.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Window for, is there a little bit of doubt? Does it almost... The word panic, I mean, why would you even
that's the other side, I guess.
Associate that with Dublin? Of course you're not, because they've been just trouncing through everybody, like,
Like, Darren, you and we spoke about the role of the sub earlier, that actually maybe Jim Gavin has looked at the likes of Kevin McManaman, Paddy Andrews, any of the forwards who are there, who aren't coming in and making the impact they once were. And yeah, somebody might lose out. Bernard Brogan may not be number 26 next time out because Diarmuid Connolly's in, and there'll be people pissed off. But he can also point to a league and championship campaign that they've got opportunities and haven't taken them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think your man might be playing a bit of a masterstroke, because we're not hearing anything about the 5 in a row, because 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago it was Connolly's back. Last weekend it was Brogan's back in the panel after the cruise shit. All the attention's gone away from the All-Ireland. It's down to individuals. But I said at the start of the year, the only team that'll beat Dublin will be Dublin, and it'll be something like this, because everyone wants to be on the pitch, and you'd be guaranteed fellas are getting cranky inside there. Why is he back now? Like the lad said, why now? Like, you're guaranteed there's fellas fighting hard there to get on the 15, get on the 26, and if he gets on the 26 or the 15 ahead of someone, or he comes off the bench ahead of someone, the next night of training, that's when the little whispers will start happening amongst each other, and that's when the one thing they've always been is really well drilled. Everyone know their role. That's when fellas start going on a bit of a solo run. So it is a strange one, but like Pat said, I don't think they're bringing them back. They're bringing them back to play.
Yeah, you can check out that full chat up on offtheball.com. That was from Killarney during the week with thanks to SuperValue. We're off to Achill next Wednesday night.
There we go.
All as part of our SuperValue
best place. There you go. Have you been to Achill?
We've been sort of scratching around for good, famous sports people that come from Achill that we might be able to invite to the show. So if you have any ideas, Darren Fletcher has links to Achill. He was
Darren Fletcher's mum's from Achill.
Maybe the most famous footballer to come from Achill.
Well, Darren was in Achill. He's been in Achill recently. Been in contact with him. So
he goes over a fair bit, doesn't he?
There's a place there in Achill. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, outside of that, we've some pretty, like Lee McHale is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of discussion about Mayo. Like, we obviously are hoping that to make it into Super 8 on these places, but if not, it's fine. It'll be the wake of Mayo football. So.
No, they're in the Super 8s, Adrian. You're about you're hoping to get to a semi-final.
Semi-finals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're going.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Have you ever been to Ackle?
I've been to Ackle loads of times.
Have you? Yeah, good.
My dad used to work in Sweeney's.
Ah, yeah, I think you told me before.
Just over the bridge there.
You told me that actually.
Served his time. That's what it was, the expression of the day. Served his time in Sweeney's of Ackle.
Yeah.
So, get down there quite a bit.
Yeah, good.
Right, we're going to talk about the championship. So if you have any comments or questions, like it is obviously from an Irish football context, maybe one of the main areas of interest for us, and so that's kind of the reason we want to talk about it. It kicks off tonight. Luton Borough tonight, Kev, and like Robbie Keane's Middlesbrough.
Well, that's what we're going to be looking at, aren't we, as well? I mean, I think there's a different narrative around it as well. Big story, Luton back in the Championship. I think that's a decent story. I mean, you and I, when we would have been kids, I remember Luton when they were a First Division club in the old First Division before it became the Premier League. I remember those famous sides in the 80s playing on the AstroTurf pitch, David Pleats, real good attacking football that they played. So they're back now. Graham Jones as manager, ex-assistant manager, is that my phone there?
Yeah, Kev,
ex-assistant manager with Roberto Martinez at Everton and Belgium, so he's in there at Luton. But the story of the night will be around Jonathan Woodgate with, of course, Robbie Keane going there as assistant. So we'll be talking, I would imagine, across this season a lot about Middlesbrough. Interesting when I was having a little look around things as well this game. The last 7 managers of Middlesbrough have lost their opening game. So let's see if that trend continues this evening as well.
I have had course to watch a lot of Middlesbrough's pre-season via Robbie Keane's Instagram stories.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Did you see the interview that Robbie did in the Mail in the last week?
No.
He did an interview. He did an interview in the Mail. It was very...
What was he saying?
Very touchy, very touchy. Yeah, it was Craig Hope, who covers the Irish. Yeah, it was.
What was he touchy about?
He was asked about Basically, he was asked about the famous Christmas party from Spurs. If you look, I'll talk about that. I'm a coach now. Then he was asked about what he did as a player. He was asked tentatively asked about the World Cup in 2002 around the right, and he just went, look, very touchy interview. Anyone gets it as well. If you Google it, Mail Online.
I wonder how that went when he went, hey Robbie, could we have a quick chat? Yeah, sure, what do you want to talk about? Well, the trip to Gibney's Malahide, we might touch on 2002. Yeah,
it was funny, and it jumps out of you when you're reading the interview as well. Robbie's tetchiness throughout as well, like, we're not talking about it, it's rubbish, bollocks, have you not? It's quite interesting. But I was saying before, I think certainly for Woodgate himself, I think there's a lot of pressure on Woodgate. He's been coaching around Middlesbrough for a good while now. The appointment of Robbie Keane certainly has had us all alerted here now to see how he goes, see how this team goes on there at Middlesbrough.
Any indication as to what sort of style of football we might be able to see from them? Is it a...
The indications are... in inverted commas, we're going to play good football, good attacking football. So we'll see how... We're going to gauge... I think the Championship, because they have so many games in the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, you're playing 10 games over the first 6 or 7 weeks, so we're going to get nearly a quarter of the season done by the end of what you're saying, certainly mid-October, end of September, so we're going to get a good gauge of to how this season's going to go. So I'll be watching Middlesbrough. Certainly going to watch this game tonight as well to see how they get on and see what, as you say, what sort of football they're going to be playing. I'm always wary about the opening day of the season. I said before, we're looking ahead for the Community Shield this weekend. Liverpool not had a great pre-season. I don't think it's a massive gauge through pre-season, but you do get maybe the mentality built through that stage. And if the results haven't been going quite well, again, within that piece that Robbie was talking there was he did touch on how the team was progressing. The indication is that the team have been taking on board what both he and Woodgate have been trying to get across them. So it'll be interesting
because it ticks the box of that trend, that recent trend of getting young managers with not much experience into decent. Like Middlesbrough it's a decent gig. It's a big-ish club, and it will be. Well, I don't know what patience will be there for it. Is what I'm saying. After 5-10 games in, if results aren't going their way, I'm not sure what patience will be there for.
I think there's less scope for allowing a manager to develop even the Championship now. I think it is down under a year. I think it's 11 months. I think the average reign of a manager there as well. But it's interesting talking to managers there as well, because there's a lot of big names. Out of the 5 talking points that you're looking at, certainly the managers is one of them. The big names that's in the Championship. Marcelo Bielsa, just in terms of obviously in at Leeds. I'll talk a little bit more in depth, more around Leeds in a sec though. But I think he's the first manager since Simon Grayson to go back-to-back manager at the start of the season for Leeds.
Is he really?
Which was 2009, I think it was. So the last 10 years at Leeds, it's been a continuation, a merry-go-round for them. Manager comes in, goes, and that's going to be interesting to see what Bielsa does now this season as well. But across the Championship, yes, there are Bielsa that's in there as well, big names. Slaven Bilic, of course, now he's another one as well. Let's see how he gets on at West Brom. Bit of pressure on him after the way things went initially with West Ham. Turned a bit sour for him. Now he's trying to get his career back on track, I suppose, here as well now as well. The old guard in Warnock in there, but the new managers, Philip Cocu, he's in at Derby County. Shea, of course, Shea Given's still in there in Derby as well. Scott Parker, another manager who's now looking to establish himself, took it temporarily, the Fulham job at the end of last season when they got relegated. Lee Bowyer, Charlton.
That's the only experience he has, is it, Scott Parker? He was assistant there for a while.
That's the only experience he has. So I think there's a lot of big names, and I mentioned the one, John O'Shea, assistant manager to Jose Gomez there at Reading as well. Let's see how he gets on.
I could see John O'Shea quietly squirreling away a career of about 30 years. Almost never. Is he an outright manager material?
I'd say eventually, yeah, I would do. Yeah, I do. Who's to say who is? But I think John, knowing John, very, very wise head on his young shoulders, young coaching shoulders anyway. I think what he'll do, I think he'll sit in the background for a while. I don't necessarily see him, like Frank Lampard immediately stepped into Derby last season. Now he's got the big job at Chelsea, and there's a number of coaches that have done that. I think he'll be a little bit on the low profile. I think he'll listen. I think he'll learn. I think we'll probably see John in 2 or 3 years' time where he'll still be in that assistant capacity or the coaching capacity around the club, wanting to build that reputation first before he would take that top job. But John, I said, very wise head. He's a brilliant man in terms of. I think we have a perception of John where he's very open, very, very honest. I think at times, but he's a hardy man. He's a character. He is a character.
He's one of the most inscrutable interviewees that I've ever had the pleasure to chat to.
In what way?
Would never give you anything.
Yeah, exactly. Shrewd cookie. Yeah. Shrewd cookie. He is. He's got a great persona, great fella, and I think. Certainly,
is he a different person when I presume he is away from the microphones.
He's just a sound fella, good lad, really good. Someone that you could rely on. Definitely someone who you know full well that you could rely on, and that's why I think he'll take to coaching brilliantly. I think he'll go on and have a very good career for himself, but I think he'll do it in a way that I said, be close to Lee Carsley. Lee Carsley's now been coaching for around about 10 years now, Lee, maybe 8, but he's never. Although he's had a couple of caretaker jobs, he's constantly wanted to stay in the background, learn the trade. And if you look at someone like Chris Hughton, who's done it that way, he was coaching at Tottenham for years and years.
Looked like he was going to be forever the eternal assistant manager.
Exactly. And then he was almost forced into it at Newcastle when he got the job. He went up to Newcastle as assistant in the coaching capacity, and then I don't know who was manager. Was it Keegan, I think, that left around that time?
Been,
and then there was nobody else. There was no.
Assistant at Ireland, obviously, as well.
Yeah, we had him with Brian there as well, and then he got the top job, and he's done a great job wherever he's been, at Norwich, at Birmingham, at Brighton, of course. So I think John would. I'm not saying he will do, but I think knowing John, I think he'd probably take that little bit of a back seat and listen, learn for a number of years before deciding to take that top job.
Yeah, he's not Neil Warnock, is what you're saying.
No. I was actually seeing a piece on Warnock yesterday. It was on Sky. I was seeing Sky Sports News yesterday, and 40 years in the game now. He's 70 now, Warnock, and he's been 40 years in management. I've played against his teams over the years, and some of his shouts that were when you'd hear. I was obviously close to the touchline when I always remember when he was at Bury, and his shouts were ridiculous. He used to wind up opposition benches with the stuff that used to come out.
Oh, is it like what?
Well,
anything repeatable?
Well, no, just stuff. Well, he did. He used to shout out on the sideline. He used to have a lad in midfield for Bury. He'd go, "Do him, break his leg," and you'd be like,
"He'd be saying that?"
Yeah, break his leg. That was
literally.
Yeah, break his leg. Yeah.
And that's not on.
You'd hear that shout from him.
Not from a manager.
Obviously, it'd wind the opposition benches up. What are you saying there? Jesus Christ, a bit of respect and things like this.
Yeah. And would his players understand that he doesn't mean that, he's just trying to wind everybody up? Or would they be like,
maybe a bit of that.
Geez, I better do a bit of it.
There's not many players that I've seen play in the Warnock, or that I would know that have played in the Warnock, that dislike him.
Right.
He has a real good rapport with his players, and that's maybe goes against what maybe the common theme of him. I don't know if you saw that. Did you ever see that documentary that he did at Sheffield United?
Oh, the one with him,
you get it on YouTube.
Raven.
Yeah, you get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But the lads.
Oh yeah, how did those players have not reflected?
I think they laughed. I think they just laughed at it. They just kind of laughed it off, and he's at it again.
Yeah.
And
well, I think I mean, I don't know clearly, but I felt that he knew the camera was over his shoulder and he was giving it stocks.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure that was a typical halftime team talk.
No, I don't think that was the case, but it was a little insight into him anyway, to see how he addresses his team.
Right, we've 5 talking points here. So Luton Birds tonight we've done, the managers we've done.
Yeah.
Leeds we want to talk about.
I think
favourites to get promoted.
Leeds are favourites, yeah. Bielsa, of course, is the big draw for them. Now, it was out there. Tommy put it to me before as well. There was a piece on Mail Online over the last couple of days as well, in the Mail, around the system that he's going to be using when he's manager of Chile. And you've probably seen Chile in the World Cup in 2014. That really good Chile side when Sanchez was flying, and how they played a 3-3-1-3 system.
Right.
Really open and attacking. If you remember, I can't remember the name, the lad that played at Cardiff, the centre half. He played centre half. He was about 5'4", not who you would naturally think is going to be a centre half, but they just used to go man for man. So everything was almost man for man all over the pitch, really open. But the way that they pressed teams, they stopped sides coming against them. If you've seen Leeds last season went with the back 4 across most of the season, as far as I saw them anyway. Changed and tinkered maybe in game, but so open, Adrian, like the way that they played, they pressed so high, leaving himself 2-on-2 at the back. Liam Cooper is the lad that I would have played with at Hull. He's the captain there at Leeds. No real pace, Liam. Brilliant left foot, great delivery, very dominating in the air. Your old-fashioned style centre half, really. Put a ball up, he would go straight through it, head everything. But leaving him exposed one-on-one wouldn't be his forte. Right. That's what Bielsa does. Bielsa plays like that. That's it. Yeah, we're getting a little thing on the 3-1-3-3, essentially how he would go about it, and it kind of tinkers as well, where he'd drop the two advanced midfielders that's playing in the more advanced 3, coming back into play the 3, so 3-3, and you're almost playing with a 10, so you've got a 10 who's key to the system attacking wise. Your 2 wide men have got flexibility where...
Not much width on that though, is there? I mean, maybe the wing backs, but...
Well, you're looking at wing backs. Where are your wing backs? Your wing backs are your outside 2 centre halves. He leaves it so exposed defensively, where you've just got, said to you, one-on-one defensively. So most sides in the Championship play like Premier League sides, 1 up front, 1 off. He's leaving it with a one-on-one defensively. So you can imagine there'll be a lot of goals scored for Leeds, but you would imagine as well, seeing them, there'll be a lot of goals conceded. So it's going to be interesting to see how their goal leads this season. Are they going to be able to handle the pressure that's on them as the favourites? They open up on Sunday away to Bristol City, who are amongst the front runners as well. There's a bit of money that's gone into Bristol City this season. So it'd be interesting to see how they start, how they're going to go about it, are they going to be able to handle that pressure? Something that Keith Andrews, and I'll talk about one of the talking points really, the Sky coverage. I think Sky do a great coverage. Keith Andrews, he was an excellent pundit. We of course had him in with us. He's left us now. He's walked away to pastures new, Adrian. But Keith spoke all last season, and he looked at Bielsa's sides and how, when he was coaching in Spain, wherever he's coached, the fall away at the end of the season. Watching Leeds last season, they didn't really tinker with the starting 11. It was the majority of the time you turn up, you know what starting 11 Leeds, the high intensity that Leeds play at. And Keith touched on it. He said, how can they maintain that, the way that they play, till the back end of the season? And I'm not saying that was the reason why they did, but they did fall away quite badly at the end of the season. They had a points cushion at one stage, and it just caught up with them. They fell into the playoffs the last couple of weeks of the season, and came a cropper to to Derby when they beat them in the playoffs. So that's going to be interesting to see again. How are they going to be able to...
couple of shrewd little bits of business. The loanees, obviously from City and Spurs. They've Helder Costa from Wolves.
Helder Costa's the one. He did brilliant for Wolves as a Championship player. It's not quite happened for him in the Premier League, so that's a big signing for them. I've signed a couple from Barcelona, a couple of free transfers from Barca gone in there as well.
I'm genuinely not intending this question as a should we pick him for Ireland, but like Patrick Bamford will be one of the top scorers in the Championship this season, most likely, if everything goes according to plan.
Like a decent
massive player for them, and if he's banging in goals left, right and centre, and I know that he's not certainly not banging our door down to get involved, but I mean the calls will probably increase at that point. But he'll be a very important player for Leeds this season and could end up in one of the top scorers in the division.
Yeah, I mean I think again you move on from Leeds as well, but in relation to Patrick Bamford, but I think we've got a nucleus of our Irish players that are playing the Championship. So there are a lot of teams, of course, Preston, Stoke, and a lot of the teams that have got Irish players within them. So we'll be watching the Championship as a whole. In relation to Bamford, I mean, personally, he's given the indication he doesn't want to play for Ireland. He's not Irish, so I wouldn't pick him. But that's a different matter altogether. But there's a nucleus of players that are playing Championship football now that we're going to have to be watching. I like the Sky coverage. I think Sky do a great job. Certainly the Friday night games. There's a change this season, I think, to the format. I think it's going to be there'll be certain games on Friday, but they're now back doing the 12:30 kick-off, the Premier League game, Sky. Right. So now they're going to put the 5:30 kick-off on a Saturday to compete with the BT game. Right. So that'll be an interesting one as well. I mean, seeing, but I'll be watching the Championship a lot this season. Obviously watching Preston and see how they get on. Sean Maguire, Alan Brown there as well. See how they get on with it. But
David Nugent.
Yeah, Dave Nugent returning. It was
47-year-old David Nugent.
It was a funny one with I don't know how the deal that they've gone about, but they let Callum Robinson go, which reportedly it's an undisclosed fee, but around about 6 million, I think, we've let him go to Sheffield United. And Preston are a selling club. It's the way that it's been with them. They let Nugent go years ago. He went for big money and he's done great. But you let Callum Robinson go, that's got real pace. He's had to play up front on his own for Preston, and then you bring in Nugent. It's not necessarily one that's going to get hold of the fans in relation to you're letting your main player go and you're signing Nugent. But he's done great. He knows the club. Preston's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle for Preston again this year. Staying up is the priority,
right,
and there's no real investment that's gone into the side. So it's going to be an interesting one. Yeah.
The fifth talking point on the list that we wanted to touch on before we get stuck into some of the Premier League transfers was obviously the Irish interest around and about the grounds. One of the most interesting one for me is obviously Conor Masterson at Kilbane. He's given up his Liverpool dream that had sort of run out, and he's gone on a free there. Obviously, guys had a front row seat for some major games in Europe and domestically as well from a Liverpool point of view. But 20, I think, is obviously uber keen. It was a point that you touched on earlier on about, and in relation to Liverpool, should I go there and sit at the bench, or actually should I go out and try and get some football? And he's obviously made the exact same call.
Well, it's a bit different. A bit different for him because he's gone over at 16, hasn't he? 17. He's gone over as a young man, and this is the reality. You go to the big clubs now. Financially, it's more lucrative for you. You get in your education in terms of the football and education. You're around brilliant footballers. He's learnt a lot, I would imagine, from Klopp and what he's probably given to him personally. But the reality is, he's not going to go and play 20, 50 games to Liverpool. It's about the next move. This is a key move for him now. We've heard so much of him. We've not seen a lot of him certainly playing in the competitive environment, and now he's got to go and play games and got to go and prove himself. So we all wish him well, and I think it's a great move for him. I think it's a really good move for him. I said before, there's a lot of Irish interest. If he plays 10 games in the first 10, 12 weeks of the season, he's going to be considered for the Irish squad. So it's going to put him on a different level immediately. Straight away, he's going to be watched, and I'm interested to see how this goes. Interesting to see how it goes. Keith speaks well of him. Keith Andrews, who's of course assistant manager now with Stephen Kennan, 21, speaks very well. Grounded boy, very good player. That's the most important thing, I suppose. And Keith thinks he's got a chance. Yeah,
there's a nice little level of talent bubbling under there. Stephen Ward has gone to Stoke. Obviously, James McLean is there, and again, who knows what their ambitions are? They're not particularly lofty ambitions, I don't think, this season.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's again, they've still got the parachute payment that's there. They dropped down. Their budget would have been extremely high last season, so they would have expected to be at the minimum top 6 last year. So that's where they are again. Is it Nathan Jones, his manager, went in from Luton? So he's now up to him to establish himself now in the Championship. It's a big one for him. Gary Rowett went last season after they got him. They recruited him from Derby last year, so from Birmingham, should I say. So it's an interesting. This is going to be an interesting one, Adrian. See what's going to happen there at Stoke, because James McLean, I believe, as well pre-season, been playing a bit at left back as well. So he's in direct competition with Stephen Ward. What is that going to be a position that they see him progressing with, and is he going to play there long term? I don't know, but there's a lot of pressure on Stoke. A lot of pressure on Stoke.
As we all know, Kev, players who, like, you're fading your career at that point, aren't you? When you make that step back, it's just like you knock out 4 or 5 years just playing average football.
You're ruling James McLean out now. That's it. His career's gone now. He's on the way.
There's evidence there of previous players that made similar moves.
I don't know. I've never.
You haven't mentioned Fulham at all. I know we have to move off pretty quickly to get into some of the transfers, but obviously one of the teams that are in with a big shout as well. They've made a couple of signings. Knockhart's gone in. Alexander Mitrovic is one of the short odds, I think, favourites to be the player of the year there.
Well, looking what he did when they got promoted season before last, he was outstanding. They signed him from Newcastle on loan to the end of the season, and they paid, was it 20 million for him? The money that they've paid last year, was it 100 million that they signed? That they paid for the players last summer. A lot of those should have an impact in the Championship. Scott Parker as well, they're expected to bounce back. They'll be one of the favourites. There's a lot, as I said, a lot of stories. Philip Cocker as well at Derby. What are Derby going to do this season as well? But there's a lot of interest in the league this season, more so than ever, I think. Even though it's certainly a league that I've taken a massive interest in over the years, and yourself as well. But it's a big one this year. It's a massive one with the big names that's in there.
It's a topic we will be coming back to with great regularity, given the Irish interest that is in it. But that's our tee up for our 5 talking points for the Championship for the season ahead. It's time to talk transfers.
We tried to hook a big one, but he got away.
Right, Kev, you are disgusted because Liverpool have made no signings, and you think that it's not going to help them further their challenge for the Premier League title.
Well, I think looking at Liverpool this season, I did expect them to invest. Judging from what they've done over the last couple of seasons, they've just gone out and made a big signing early. Like last season, Alisson was done and dusted, got him in, was what they needed a keeper in last season. Klopp feels that, or the club feel that they've done enough business over the last few years that they don't necessarily need to be going out and signing any.
It can't be true though, can it? When you look at the.
There's been one or two, but it's been low profile signings, not the bigger signings that have gone in there. So, what you said.
My point was that ultimately there is a narrative out there that they've got a great squad and that's plenty to get done this season. But I mean, they haven't won the Premier League, so they're expected to make that step up with the same resources. And I mean, I would have thought that if the club were showing some ambition, that you'd be absolutely certain that Klopp was going in to say, listen, we need to strengthen in a couple of positions, and here are the players I might need to bring in, and it might cost us 100 million quid to do it, but it's going to bring us to the brink of the Premier League title.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like,
well obviously the Liverpool, the board-wise, and Klopp, they've obviously sat down, and this is the policy for the summer. Look, we're not making any big signings. Are you happy with what you've got? Klopp's obviously had to give it the okay. I'm sure if he'd have seriously pushed, wanted to strengthen in one or two, different departments, that would have been the case. Is he going to go out and spend 100 million on a player that wouldn't necessarily get? Where are you going to strengthen? Now, you look at you've watched Liverpool enough over the last year. Where are you going to strengthen? The big worry for Liverpool would be at the start of this season. There's been a bit of a negative feel around the performances pre-season. They've not necessarily quite been at it. I watched them play one of the pre-season games when I was out in America last week. Who did they play? Was it Real Madrid? I saw them beat. I can't remember actually. No, it was. There was a lot of games I was watching when I was out there anyway. But the front three have been away all summer. Firmino came back. He scored last weekend. Are they going to be up to speed? No, they're not going to be up to speed for the first weekend next year. Let's see how they go. Once you get those front three back, they'll be right. But I was talking to Nathan about it a few days ago, where we were chatting around the season. The way that the Premier League season's gone over the last few years, well, last season was a bit different, that it wasn't necessarily put to bed by Christmas, but Chelsea, look at what they did under Conte a few seasons ago, City last season. The league was put to bed by Christmas. They just went on a great run at the start of the season, blew everyone away, and sides fell away early on the season by losing games early on. They weren't quite up to speed. Look at Tottenham last year. Tottenham were knackered from the World Cup. Harry Kane wasn't really right all season. Their season was almost over before Christmas. They were on catch-up the whole year. They nearly went out of the Champions League as well. They lost the first 3 games. Skin of the teeth, stayed in the Champions League into the new year, and obviously did great to get to a final. Tottenham, I think, are going to be a lot stronger this year. Tottenham will be right at it come the start of the season. So Liverpool are playing catch-up in terms of the squad now, because they've not been able to get back in to have a full pre-season. So they've not strengthened. That is the worry, I think, for Liverpool now, that they've not got 1 or 2 players in just to say, well, tell you what, yes, our front three are out, but we need to bring somebody in that's going to maybe help us out a little bit.
And
really.
a bit of depth if they get, a couple of key injuries. I know that like it's just such a...
No, but my point was before I was saying to the legend, where are you strengthening? They've got two brilliant full-backs, they've got a settled back four now, they've got a brilliant keeper. Midfield is probably the area, isn't it? It is maybe the area, that midfield three. Now, they do have Oxlade-Chamberlain back now, he's fully fit. You've got Wijnaldum, you've got Milner, you've got Henderson. Is it good enough to seriously challenge City? They're not as good as City in midfield. They're simply not as good as City. So that might have been an area where you could have gone, let's go and get a ball-playing midfielder.
Even for a bit of depth, because you look at City...
Yeah, but you've got depth, you've got Wijnaldum, you've got Keita, you've got Henderson, you've got Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I know they mixed and matched a bit with them last year as well, obviously.
But it's not the quality of Silva, De Bruyne.
No, I remember there's another year on the clock as well, and maybe, who knows what happens for him this year. I mean, look, to be fair, he's not exactly a fading quality, but it'd be interesting to see. The Tottenham example as well, like almost fitting the exact same sort of criteria of not made any signings.
They have looked a bit leggy pre-season when the games that I've seen them. Just, the way Liverpool play.
There's that emotional investment of everything that happened for both of those teams last year, and it's only been a short few weeks since that season is done, and suddenly they're back at it again. The Pochettino comments from me during the week were extremely bizarre. Not the comments of a guy who wants to stay at the club
long term. It doesn't seem it to me.
It wasn't, it was.
No, but even around the Champions League final, after that, I definitely would have gone if we'd have won the Champions League final. Does that suggesting that he's definitely looking elsewhere? That's the way.
They should change my job title. He was
am I the coach or am I the manager?
It's only having those conversations in public if you're settled and happy.
But there's an agenda there, isn't there? There's an agenda. I think in relation to Tottenham though as well, we spoke about Irish players. Troy Parrott, who's played a lot in the pre-season. Be interesting to see. Let's look at him this season. Is he going to progress? The suggestion is he's going to get a lot of game time this year.
Will he?
Well, if I'm looking at I saw the game against Juve a few weeks ago in the starting 11. He started against Real Madrid. Now, imagine a young kid. What is he, 17? Troy Parrott, 18? He started against Juve and Real Madrid. That must be unreal for him. So Pochettino looks to me like he's got a bit of trust in him. I think he's going to get game time this year. Not necessarily starting, but I think he's going to get game time. I think he'll be on the bench, and hopefully he's going to get time on the pitch.
Are we? I mean, at this point of the season, obviously before the community leaving takes place, saying that City's to lose, essentially, given the depth and.
Well, they signed Rodri, haven't they? He's going to make a big difference. I think Kompany's going to be a loss. I do, just in terms of what he brings to the dressing room, what he's, that he has been a massive figure within that club, hasn't he? And they've lost a real leader there. I know it's a cliche, isn't it? I lost a leader, but what is he going to bring? But you do. I think he'll be a massive loss to City. Yeah. I do think that. So maybe a centre half. I mean, as I said before, in relation to Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, it looks like he's gone to United. There is still in that background. City have got an interest in Maguire. Could they scupper that one later on and get that deal done? It looks unlikely, but that's where they probably need that one position.
Everton, I was looking at, have finished neither higher than 8th nor lower than 11th in the last 5 seasons.
Is that right?
There's incredible continuity.
Did they not get 7th?
Mediocrity. Well, that was the bit of research that I'd done. Incredible. I mean, even if it was 7th, which my research says it wasn't, that's an incredible level of consistent mediocrity. Is that consistent mediocrity something you expect to continue this season?
If that Zaha deal goes ahead, let's see if they can get that one over the line. That is it a game changer for them? They've probably got similar sort of players. They probably do need to strengthen in other areas.
They've lost some key players.
Idrissa Gueye going, but they signed Fabian Delph. I think that's a good signing for them. I think Delph going in there. Is it the wow factor? Everton's wage bill now has gone through the roof, Age. Honestly, they're paying massive money now, massive wages. They're competing with Arsenal now, wages-wise. Not necessarily on the level of Mesut Ozil, but I'm talking the next tier down. They're able to compete with Arsenal. They're able to compete with Spurs, wages-wise. Some of their players well in advance of $100,000 a week plus, so they can compete. So the expectation at Everton is now, certainly with the development in the last couple of weeks, the new stadium is hopefully is a goer for them. I'd be hopeful. I would be hopeful, but not necessarily this season. I think at best for them, it's top 6. Yeah, at best for them.
Which, why are they not competing with Arsenal? Forgetting about whatever Arsenal can do for the season ahead, and the likes of United, who've been bang average.
Yeah, and in the last 4 or 5 seasons as well, that you've got the likes of Leicester that have been able to do what they did, and Everton are looking at that, and I'm sure a lot of Everton supporters are looking at that with a little bit of envy. That we should be. We're at the stage now. We should be competing with Tottenham, with Arsenal, with Man United, as you say, with what United have done over the last few seasons. I think they should be. I think with the signings that they've made haven't necessarily worked out in what you would expect for them. They pay 50 million for Sigurdsson, 50 million for Richarlison, massive wages that have gone in off the back of that as well. So they should be competing, and that's where I think the next couple of seasons, if they get that stadium over the line, I'd be hopeful. I'm not going to shout from the rooftop, but no. I'm quietly optimistic that Everton are going to be competing the next 5 or 6 years.
An interesting assistant manager at Everton that I hadn't realised had happened. Who's Lewis Beaumorte.
Oh yeah, you gone in there, yeah. That's it, yeah.
In the last, went in there in June. It was mad. Like I didn't. It was just a bit of an odd one. Incredible player in his day. Seen him play for Fulham.
Why odd?
It was just a guy who had, for me, had just totally disappeared off the radar. He was on that incredible Fulham team in the early 2000s.
Good player, Lewis Beaumont. Really good player, yeah. So we'll see what happens at Everton over the next while. We've more to get to there, but we're going to press pause now for now. We've plenty of comments coming in, Kev, as well, of those questions you always wanted to ask, Kev, but we just haven't got around to just yet. So we're going to, actually, you know what, we'll flag a couple of those with you now. If you want to throw up that graphic up on screen there again, lads, we can pull a couple of those out. Your worst away day dressing room in the Premier League, asked George Keogh. I don't know what he means by worst away day. Worst dressing room.
I guess your worst away dressing room.
Worst dressing room. I started, my league debut was at Torquay, playing more. So I played Division 3 football league. Torquay wouldn't have been great. Darlington. Right. Played at Darlington. Oh my God, yeah. There was just some shockers, yeah.
I presume that a lot of those clubs at that time, because it seems as if it's only just...
He said Premier League there, didn't he? Premier League, sorry. So there's... I mean, when I first went into the Premier League, there was one or two... I remember Loftus Road wasn't great. Loftus Road was just standard, yeah. Everton's not great as well. Everton's away. It's like the home dressing room's very good, but the home one, it's very cramped and very tight. You know, little room to swing a cat in Everton's away.
Deliberately, I presume.
Yeah.
Fire them up there again, because we had one other one that I definitely wanted to get to.
Favourite Mayo player at the top?
Yeah, I go with that one.
That's Kevin McLaughlin, isn't it? Kevin McLaughlin's.
Of all time?
I love Kevin McLaughlin,
yeah. Declan there. Did he enjoy left back?
David Brady on today. David Brady, he's my favourite all time. John Casey, yeah.
No, Liam McHale has to be Liam McHale, come on. Willie Joe.
Joe, yeah.
Did he enjoy left back, or was it a last gasp?
No, I did enjoy it, but you know what? That's probably a good point. I never felt entirely comfortable playing there. No, I didn't, because it wasn't my position. It was like, you know, I'm talking like from when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age, coming up playing football. You kind of get into a way of playing, and it's your position, isn't it? So yeah, it wasn't entirely comfortable, but I did enjoy it. I think I had a good understanding of the game. I was always a decent enough talker on the pitch. So when you're playing as in that position, you're talking for the lad that's in front of you, keeping him right. Your left side centre half, keeping him right as well. So yeah, it was enjoyable. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Some more left field ones that we'll come to a little bit later on as well. So do keep your questions coming in. If you've got more for Kev, if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or if you're listening to us on the Go Loud app or tune in, we're delighted to have you with us this morning, and we're just putting some of those questions to Kev. Not the nonsense about like the cliched stuff, but your toughest opponent and best player you play, but keep that stuff for different platforms, not for us this morning. But any more questions?
It's never for you, that, Adrian, is it? It's never for you, that.
8:45 on this Friday morning. Alan Quinlan is en route. He's going to tell us how we're going to beat New Zealand at the World Cup, so that's coming your way shortly. There is a Wilson racket as well to win every morning this week, and also the overall prize of a trip for two to Madrid for 2 nights, tickets to the Davis Cup semi-finals, all thanks to Tennis Ireland. Just tell us how many Grand Slam singles titles has Rafael Nadal won. Hashtag OTBAM, and the answer on Twitter. So get those into us, and we'll bring you the winner before we leave you this morning at 9:30. Next up, we're talking to Quinny about attacking a rush defence. But here's to set it up, New Zealand journalist Gregor Paul on with the lads during the week about the All Blacks World Cup preparation.
I think we saw when they played in the Northern Hemisphere last year, and from probably go back further to when the Lions beat them here, and drew the series, that rush defence, teams that get off the line really quickly and blitz them and cut down their space, have had an awful lot of success at doing it, and the All Blacks have struggled quite badly. They struggled in Dublin last year when Ireland did it to them. They struggled at Twickenham when the English did it to them. So they've known what's going to be coming, and I think every team, we saw it in the Six Nations as well. You know, the quality and speed of defence, and South Africa are very good at it as well. It's intense, and everybody's put a lot of time and effort into building these defensive walls. And the All Blacks have said, right, well, we need a few tricks up our sleeve. If we want to use our attacking prowess. We've got Barrett, we've got Mwanga, we've got Sonny Bill Williams, Ben Smith, Jack Goodhue. We've got all these guys that can play, but they can't play if they're just being swarmed by defence. So we need to find a way that we can, throw a few tricks into it and start unsettling teams that rush at us. Because I think the thing with the rush defence, it's brilliant when it works, but if you can find a way through it, it becomes quite fragile quite quickly. And I think that's what the All Blacks are doing. They're trying to unleash an attack game. They've reworked all their patterns, all their ways of doing things. We haven't quite seen it yet because the game against South Africa just didn't really flow for that to happen. But I think we're going to see them build this kind of multi-phase attack game over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's Gregor Paul chatting to the lads during the week. As you can see, we've been joined by the tactics board here, and beside it, Alan Quinlan. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Welcome. It's been a few weeks.
Has it?
Since we sat in the studio.
Since we've sat in the studio.
We've been out doing other stuff, but yeah. How are you? All good?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to the next few weeks. It's
exciting times.
Yeah, it's going to warm up.
How's your schedule now ahead of that? What are you doing in preparation for the?
Well, I'm going out to Japan on the September the 18th for the whole lot. But
got a big gig out there, Kev.
Oh, I know. He's got the big gig.
For the next few weeks for just looking forward to the warm-ups, doing different stuff around then. They're playing Italy next week. Then 2 weeks after, Ireland play England in Twickenham, and then they play Wales back to back. So 4 games in preparation, really.
It's been a long build-up, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and it's been quiet for Ireland. We haven't heard a lot from them. The physical side of getting the fitness right and all that stuff. You know yourself from trying to get pre-seasons right. And
what would they have done in terms of that? Would Joe Smith have given them time off after the season and then?
No, I think they managed it very well, and it's a good concept. They had 3 weeks off, then they were they had 3 weeks off, then they were back for a couple of weeks, then they had a week off, a down week, to give them an extra little bit of a break, and then I think they did 2 or 3 weeks again, another week off. So I think a lot of the teams are kind of overloading for 2 to 3 weeks, then having a recovery week. It's an active recovery, so they're not completely off. It's doing some runs and some weights themselves, and the intrigue of any preparation for World Cup, and I've said this before, is if you play great and things go well, your preparation has been brilliant. Rugby's a bit different probably than football, because you're trying to jam in a strength, a speed, a fitness side of it, as well as the tactical stuff, and do you separate them? Because if you bring contact into your fitness week, it impinges on the amount of gains you can make. If you can do rugby specific fitness stuff where you're doing drills and games that are non-contact, so you're working on the ball, but you're also working on fitness, agility, speed, all that stuff. But once you bring the contact in, then
you're trying to avoid injury.
And if you're doing a rugby session in the morning and it's full on, and the last couple of weeks they'll be full into the rugby, and then you're trying to get in and do a weight session to gain strength, it's very difficult.
And avoid injuries like Toby Faletau even during the week.
The sports science of it is much more advanced nowadays. I've said about the 07 one, which is the one that keeps jumping up all the time, that maybe our preparation that whole summer was overloaded too much, trying to get every box ticked, which is difficult. There's so many variables around the fitness in the rugby, but they've had grueling camps. Look at Wales, they're away in I think they were in Switzerland doing altitude training. England have been in Treviso for the last 2 weeks doing warm weather training. Ireland go to Portugal for a couple of days in about 2 or 3 weeks. So everyone is doing their own bit, and it's a lot of work really. When
between the two, you have nearly every media outlet in the British and Irish Isles boxed off, to be fair to you.
What's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing. Just an observation, Quinny, that's all.
What to say.
Just make an observation. Right, Gregor Paul was talking to us there about the rush defence, and we are very honed in and talking about a potential Ireland versus New Zealand, Ireland versus South Africa quarter-final at the Rugby World Cup. So he sort of brought up the idea that New Zealand are tweaking they're going for this all-attack game. They're looking to tweak their system. They're looking to get a couple of playmakers on the pitch at once if they can. And the discussion about beating the rush defence was one that we wanted to get into this morning. You're going to demonstrate.
Yeah, it's not something that's new really, because even when I was playing, defence coaches probably came into the game and in a full-time role with every team from probably 2000 onwards, about the specifics and knowing your role, having systems and all that stuff. That probably wasn't there when I started playing for Munster Ireland first. Accountability and understanding on how you defend. It's not just about me running up and tackling one of you guys and being technically good at a tackle. It's how do I manage the system, my body language. Do I defend inside shoulder, outside shoulder, staying connected to people around me? And so it's always a work in progress, and there's always different ways of trying to combat attack, good attack. And New Zealand are probably, they're the ones who we all probably have looked up to, the way they attacked the game. And it's that X factor that they have so many players who can just do a moment of brilliance. They're technically gifted, but they're also athletically gifted, with power, speed, all that stuff. And how do you stop teams like that? And there is a real emphasis now in rugby, which is a concern around the physicality and the impacts of rugby, is that defence now is a real weapon, and you can't blame teams for trying to stop very, very talented sides. It happens in football, I'm sure. If you're playing in the FA Cup, a lower division team playing a Chelsea or Man United or a Liverpool or a City, they'll try and set up and frustrate them. You probably know about that. But it happens a lot in rugby now. But also the good teams are doing it to their advantage. So you take England, when they come to Dublin for the opening Six Nations game, their tactic was stop Ireland, take away their momentum, physically match them up front, slow their ball down, and then just get in their faces and smash them. And they can't play. And I've said this after that game, and it's easy for me in the sideline to say it, that we probably tried to overplay. And there was a criticism of Joe Schmidt's side after the Six Nations that were negative, and I think sometimes we overplayed throughout that Six Nations. And England used that tactic superbly. Then when they had their moments, they executed themselves. Wales did it throughout the Six Nations. They scored probably not as many tries as England or Ireland in the tournament, but they still won it. They won a Grand Slam. Rush defence and really aggressive, slowing the opposition down. So when New Zealand talk about now, and Gregor Paul there, it's very interesting to hear him talking about how do you combat that and what have New Zealand done differently. Well, they've switched their fly halves last weekend, so Barrett was full back and Mounga was 10. But the tactic and the mentality of the team is probably to stay a little bit deeper. So they're probably thinking every time we play, teams are going to try and get in our faces. And Ireland did it so well in November, trying to frustrate New Zealand and stop them. Talk
us through exactly what that looks like here.
Yeah, so look, if this is New Zealand attack, well, this is Ireland or Wales or wherever, and it's just about, they're probably two forwards there, which, most teams will have some sort of an option. This is your scrum half, some sort of an option to hit a couple of forwards. But what Barrett is trying to do now, and what New Zealand are trying to do, they're trying to keep plenty of depth out here, that if this rush defence is going really, really hard here, that they still have some time on the ball.
He's rogue, is he, this lad here?
He's your winger, yeah. He's probably your winger. Sometimes he'll come up and close off the space as well. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of defenders there. There's
I think
6.
There's one too many in the line there, unless that full back is rogue, is he?
Yeah, this is your full back, that's your winger. But and the wingers depends. Right. Sometimes they come up and close the line down. You can always take one over here and put him back here and say he was on this side of the field. But if they come up that hard and Barrett sees that, well then he can pass and try and get it out to the wider edges, but he can also see that there's a bit of space here. If the winger is back here and these 4 are really hard, well then that depth maybe will enable him to put it through the hands there and try and get it out to this width where they can run. So look, there's no rocket science to this, but I think where teams struggle is in the heat of the battle. If this ball is slow out of here for this guy here, that's your first problem. So ideally, the guys in red want that ball to be slow.
So how does a slow ball affect a rush defence, for example?
Well, if it's quick, they can't come off the line, because it's really dangerous, because if that ball ruck is really quick and it's over the gain line and all this moves forward here, well, they're offside there, and usually they're on their heels going backwards. And they just, when you're going back a little bit or you're checked, you cannot shoot off the line as a group.
So are you saying you need to slow down the ball to play?
Well, that's the whole idea, yeah, that's the whole idea. And John Mitchell did it with England, where they contested their first impact in the tackle. So a great option here, and Wales did it so well against England, is they didn't, this ball was a bit slow here, and we played a lot of them in against England. But what Wales did is they hit the forwards here. They said, right, rush away, we're just going to crash it up here. Then we're just going to get these guys to recycle, and we're going to come around the corner and do it again here. We're just going to pull in one or two guys here, and we're just going to come around the corner again with more forwards and more forwards and more forwards. And they were happy to do that. Whereas sometimes the danger with a rush defence is you overplay the ball, and you try to stick to your pattern and say, we're going to get it to the wingers and we're going to play brilliant rugby today and we're going to cut teams open on the wider channels. Because another form of this defence is this scenario where you have wingers coming up in and outside centres cutting off the passing channel. So if Barrett is up here and New Zealand are up flat, well, it's very difficult and risky if he starts giving passes from here. Take these forwards out of it, they've been dummy runners, so if Barrett is trying to give passes, well, you've intercepts.
Well, it's a high wire act for both teams, that one, right? Like, if that...
It's risk reward, so we've seen Stockdale do it several times.
Yes, yeah.
But we've also seen him come out of the line a little bit and get up to here, and Barrett go here, and passes being put through to little pockets there. So it's kind of a risk-reward scenario.
And like in a World Cup, I mean, from an Irish point of view, playing a defence like that against a team the quality of New Zealand and relying on having to slow the ball down is, I mean, it is a...
Yeah, a lot of things have to go right, but usually when you're... we'll bunch this to the touchline a little bit, and this is an ideal rush defence scenario when you've teamed on the touchline. So the scrum half is here and they're two forwards there, okay, so imagine they're just an option to, this is going to be much tighter here. But it's easier to probably do a rush defence from the sideline where there's a lot of passes to be made to get it to here, if you understand what I mean. And if this is any little bit slow or there's a contest here, well, guys can recycle around here as well and bunch that up. But this is all about spacing. So they can't be way out here and a lot of space around the ruck here, because these guys can be an option then of getting through these channels, and that can be identified. So communication is vital there. But if that ball is slow there and there's a real fight and a battle going here, well, these guys are in a great position then. They're locked and loaded. They have to be deep. And I think that's where the kicking option, crossfield kicks, isolating these guys out here, you know, crossfield kick here from the 10, it makes, you know, kind of giving a 2v1 and, you know, there's a chance loose ball will get there. I know the full back is coming across. We've seen Leinster do that so well with Johnny Sexton at times with his crossfield kicks. Does it brilliantly. So...
what happens when this ball is not slow ball? Like, inevitably you can't guarantee for the court.
No, you can't. But usually there's some sort of a contest. And look, teams are getting... They practice going back on their heels a little bit and understanding that it's going to be, you know, it's not always going to be slow and it's going to be quick. They've just got a man up here and probably...
Do you mix it? What I'm saying is, do you mix and match your rush defence with something
Absolutely,
else?
you can't do it every time. Yeah. So what you want to do is, if it's quick and you can't get forward, you don't want this scenario where you've a kind of a fractured line, the guys shooting out of the line on their own. And that usually can happen in the wider channels where it's very difficult for these guys tight in here to be shooting off the line if it's quick. But these guys can have a little bit more space because they're not involved in this battle. They're not having to look in too much. And if you get someone out here just shooting out of the line, well, it's just creating all sort of space, and they can manipulate that space and punish you. So ideally, quick ball, the best scenario is keep the line. But what Bowden Barrett is saying now, and what New Zealand, Gregor Paul is saying, is what they're trying to do is because they probably feel now that people are trying to stop them more, which is fully understandable, and it's exactly what I'd try and do if I was playing or a coach, is they're trying to keep a little bit of depth. And that suits this as well. You can use that as an advantage to say, well, they're way back here, playing back here, so let's just stay together, even if we're not rushing, move forward as a group, And at least if we make a tackle, well then if the tackle is out here, that it's still behind that gain line, and that we can hunt in here, and there's maybe a chance to isolate someone and go after the ball. But what New Zealand do really well is they don't panic if they have that contact there. Well, Smith is around here and they can zip around that corner really quickly. So it can change very quickly.
What about the one last one on that New Zealand dynamic, just about that point of having two playmakers on the pitch at once, which it seems like, listen to Greg and Paul, that obviously they are trying to tweak things around and come up with a new innovative system that's going to have teams guessing come Rugby World Cup and maybe not showing their full hand even now. But having Barrett at 15 and having Moanga at 10, and how much that changes the thing, because even if you think about it in an Irish context,
well, what
really
it is,
the way we play.
What it is trying to get the two of them on the field at the same time, and Joe did that with Ireland against England, trying to have Aki and Henshaw on the field, and looking at having a ring rows as well, and having three top quality players on the field where 3 into 2 doesn't go, and putting Henshaw back there. It's a little bit similar that if they need to change their tactics a little bit, they're two very, very good running fly halves, but Sonny Bill Williams then played at the weekend, and he's crashing a lot of ball up the middle. So could you put an option of putting Barrett as a 12? It's probably Shane Horgan mentioned it this week about Joey-Carbery being an option as a 12. Well, that's your natural playmaker and real footballer, kicking option as well, and some teams do that very, very well. So having the ability to put Barrett, but look, I think ultimately New Zealand will be better with Barrett at 10.
What about Ireland and
Carbery?
Carbery?
Done well. Yeah, look.
What's your take? Put him in?
At this stage, unless something... It probably is a little bit, and maybe it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen because I think you've 4 top quality centres who would be disappointed if they weren't. You've got Aki, Henshaw, Ringrose, Chris Farrell, all vying for 2 starting berths there. So then if you bring Carbery into the mix, it happened with O'Gara and Sexton a couple of times before, where Sexton went 12. It's a good option to have, but I think sometimes your hand has to be forced a little bit to do something like that. But I think getting Carbery on the field somewhere could be an option, and should be an option, and should be in Joe's mind. Yeah, he could come in at a full back, or he's such a brilliant footballer, and he has that ability to have that X factor. But I think going back to the defence, if you watched that New Zealand-South Africa game last Saturday morning, South Africa did it incredibly well with that rush defence. And it was a physicality as well. So everybody wants to get off the line quicker. The problem is you can't do it every time, and it's tiring. And if you do that, if everybody's up here, and something again that maybe Ireland didn't manage that well and didn't help Sexton, because it's impossible for the 10 to see everything. Wingers and people out here need to identify space and say, look, fullback's over here, there's loads of green space over here. But also, if the fullback is back here and this defence line is very quick, that there's an option, little ding kicks, or like I said, that crossfield option here. So it's just about varying that, and it's hard to get it all right, Adrian, because I think ultimately defence comes down to, and any sort of rush defence comes down to the initial contact. If that's over the gain line and dominant, you can't have a rush defence.
We'll be back to it again, I've absolutely no doubt. More New Zealand talk and on. Quinny, thanks a million for the minute. Cheers to that. Enjoy the weekend. We are going to talk to Ruby Walsh in a little bit. We're going to get him to mark our card for the weekend, for today as well at the Galway Festival, and see how he's getting on with his Ruby versus Punter, all in association with Paddy Powers. That's coming very shortly. And John Duggan as well. He caught up with the winner of the Best Dress competition at Ladies' Day yesterday.
Tell us about your outfit.
My outfit is Phoenix Vire, so it's a jumpsuit with a little drape, so it's a 2-piece, and my hat is Laura Hanlon Millinery from Roscommon.
Why did you decide to enter?
Well, I didn't really enter. I was kind of just picked from the crowd, if you would believe that, yeah. So it was good. It was a good experience.
And you're from Mayo, winning in Galway, enemy turf?
No, I would say I'm both. I'm a Mayo girl and a Galway girl. We can come together sometimes.
Brilliant, great stuff. You're going to the Seychelles. That's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be. I can't wait for that trip. It's going to be amazing. I have to get time off for it though. Oh, it'll be good, yeah.
And you're doing a bit of medical work. You've been studying in Trinity and you're doing medical science now.
Yeah, so I work in the University College Hospital here in Galway, and I'm going to be starting a master's in September in Trinity College, yeah.
And tell us, is it expensive to get an outfit like this? Did you have to shell out a lot, or?
It was a little bit on the pricey side, but you don't have to do that. You could just look at pieces that are similar in style, and I'm sure you'd be able to find something similar. It is, in the end of the day, it is a jumpsuit. It's just the way it was put together, yeah. But I do love them, what they do in Phoenix Fire, so I couldn't beat it. I loved it.
Let's face it, the Irish summer has serious commitment issues. It's always late, disappears for weeks at a time, and consistently breaks its promises. But not us. At Electric Ireland, we're committed to giving you an 8.5% saving on your gas and electricity year after year after year after year. Visit electricireland.ie/join for the kind of commitment you deserve.
Estimated annual bill €1,736. Average consumption, urban 24-hour, discounted unit rate, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax. Residential, dual fuel, direct debit and online billing. Terms and conditions apply. See electricireland.ie/EAB. Rated 1st of April 2019, subject to change.
All right, it's 6 minutes past 9 on this Friday morning. We're going to talk racing now. Ruby versus punter. All this week has seen Ruby Walsh go up against Joe Walsh, who was chosen by the Paddy Power shop in Prospect Hill in Galway. Both lads with €100 charity bet every day this week at the Galway Races. And Ruby, you're up to 1900 after 4 days. You're well ahead of Joe at this stage. You're home and hosed, I would offer.
Oh, I don't know about that. Joe could back a 12-1 winner and nab me. Anything can happen. There's 3 days left. And my daughter standing on the table.
Got the kids there.
She's standing on the table. I have to take her down. Hang on.
Go for it. Safety first, Ruby. This is essential. We're having our BBC moment. Anyway, Ruby's flying away. He's got 1900 in the bag there.
Live TV.
Everybody's safe, Ruby. That's sort of objective A.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
Here, you're going to mark a card in a couple of minutes, but just I wanted to get a word with you on Tudor City yesterday and Robbie Power's ride in particular. What was it about it that stood out for you?
What's going on?
Do you have us?
Is my Wi-Fi back?
We have you there. Back. I don't know if you can feel we're in like a little tad. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
I can now. Here you
have us.
Came back inside.
Talk to us about Robbie Power yesterday.
That was a brilliant ride. Very cool. Never panicked, and all the way down the hill into the dip. How he just kept sitting and reading the situation in front of him. He kept following the right horses, found the right gaps. He was thinking the whole way through the process. It was great to watch. I enjoyed watching it. I love watching tactical rides like that. Someone's using their brain, and it was good to watch now. Patience,
it seems, was the key to it.
It is patience, but what looks like it's taking an age on the television, in real time when you're riding that horse, it's happening quite quickly. So you say patience, but it's not even patience. It's the ability to read the horses in front of him, see who was going well and who was going bad, and to keep slotting onto the tail of the right horse. It's more than patience. It's race reading, and it's a good use of intelligence.
Yeah, well, it was a big win yesterday and a great win. We want you to mark a card, obviously, for the days. We mentioned the 1900 for charity in the bag so far. Where are you going? The Guinness handicap, obviously, today. What have you got for us? Mark a card.
I'm not going to go for the Guinness handicap. Mr. Adjudicator was unlucky on Monday night, but he's dropping back a half a mile in distance, and that'll be a concern to me. I'm going to go 25 each way on St. Stephen's Green in the first. Stephen's Green, maybe he is. St. Stephen's Green, I think he is. Of Emmett Mullins's. Won a beginner's chase at the meeting last year. And I'm going to have €25 each way on Manila Bow in the third race, the Galway Blazers as well. He won at the meeting last year too. So I'm going to go €25 each way on both of those.
And Willie, obviously, in the handicap has been exceptionally dominant in that one over the last few years. Ruby, 3 of the last 4, Mr. Adjudicator and Legal Spin. League and Spin is the options today. What are you? What's your thoughts on Willie's chances?
Both are probably better at 2 miles, but it's a huge pot. So they're both taking their chance, but a mile and a half could be just be on the sharp side for both. And like Mr. Adjudicator broke very slowly on Monday, he'll have to break much quicker in a mile and a half race to get any kind of a position. And Legal Spin, I'm just not sure how much scope Legal Spin has off his mark.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, you have obviously other pressing matters there at hand as well, so we're going to let you away. Thanks a million for that. We'll check in with you over the weekend.
Good man.
Thanks a lot. Ruby Walsh on the line there. Stevens Green and Manila Bow.
Good little each way. It's both 7-1 there, so little each way double there.
Joe Walsh, come on in.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you going?
Good, going very well.
Two places yesterday. You're up to nearly 700 quid.
Yeah, not so bad. Yeah, we'll increase that today.
What are you looking at?
I'm going on weight here in the first. He's around 14-1.
Okay.
I want €20 each way on him.
You want it, or you've agreed, or you're getting it? What are we? Are we putting pressure on here? Are we?
Well, if you agree to a 20 each way on him,
it's said now. So I mean, there's nothing we can't put it back. Let's consider that done.
Okay. And in the 650, the top horse number 1, Joseph O'Brien.
Yeah.
He's around the 14-1 as well.
Arthurian Fame.
And put 20 each way on him.
12-1, yeah, there we go.
And a €10 each way double on both of them.
On both of them, right. So you're chasing here, you know that?
Well, you see, this is the chase is on today. I'll catch him today.
Fancy your chances, obviously. What are you thinking in anything doing for us in the handicap?
No, I don't fancy anything in the handicap.
Okay. All right, we're going to check in with you over the weekend. You've ground to make up, Joe. I hope that you've walking a bit of a high wire yourself here, so hopefully you can pull some of that off. Thanks a million for joining us.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Joe Walsh on the line there, chosen by the Paddy Power shop in Prospect Hill to go head-to-head with Ruby this week. And if you go into the shop in Prospect Hill, you can get out some of those good odds that Joe was putting us on the line for there. We're going to have to call Paddy Power afterwards and say, listen, I mean, he said it on air and we can't back out from it now. So we will check in with that over the weekend as well to see exactly how the lads are getting on. Do remember, gamble responsibly, and when the fun stop, you can check out dunlewy.net for more on that. And Ruby versus Punter with thanks to Paddy Power. It's 9:11 on this Friday morning. I think we might have John Duggan on the line.
Adrian and Kevin, good morning.
How are you getting on?
Morning, John.
Good, thanks. Yeah, good.
I mean, your interview yesterday is obviously overtaking the internet.
That got my interest, to be honest with you, John. There, brilliant.
Well, you do know that I'm the Gok one of Off the Ball now.
I didn't know, but I do know now, and I think that it's something we should tap into in much more regular basis. Tell us about Friday at the Galway Races. It's going to be a monster day, certainly from a crowd point of view.
It is. It's generally one of the biggest days attendance-wise in Irish racing. I'd say we're hitting close to 30,000. There's 24,000 here yesterday. Look, it's a fun, entertainment-based weekend here. Like, racing purists might not enjoy it as much as they would enjoy it at Cheltenham or Punchestown, but there's something for everybody here, and I think we've seen that all week. And we've had great weather. I'm in the Galmont Hotel now. You know, I didn't get much sleep with the noise of the 80s pumping through my room, but this is a magnificent hotel. My pumpkin leaves at about, or is it the carriage leaves at 11:30, so I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm ready to break glass, lads. I'm getting out of here. I'm not hanging around for tonight. But I have gone through the market movers this morning.
Go on, yeah. What in terms of the lads didn't focus hugely on the Guinness handicap, obviously there, and it'll be one that obviously will be much watched over the course of the afternoon and into the evening as well. What have you got to mark up for us?
Well, it's just that Mr. Adjudicator in that Guinness handicap has attracted support from fourth into 3-1 favourite now. Arguably unlucky the other day. He's a good horse, Mr. Adjudicator. It was second in Triumph Hurdle at Cheltenham. That Tudor City that won yesterday actually was my second pick, and I put 50 cent each way in him. That's how little confidence I have in my blog on back in Galway, because I think Galway is a minefield. But Tudor City, I wouldn't be surprised if he went close again. Il Paradiso came in for support this morning. Arthurian Flame at 14-1 and Inscribe have got a bit of nibbles in the each way market, 14 and 20s respectively. During the rest of the card, Bercassa, who already won this week, is popular, the first race favourite. Money for Grapevine, money for Stormy in that one as well. The 545, Santiago is the favourite in that, but that's a weak market. The 545, not much support from many horses there. 615, Tesseract is the favourite, but Money for Mine's made up. Money for Mine now, who I remember won at Leopardstown a little while back. We've talked about the Guinness handicap in the 725. Mount Janu, money for that against the favourite. Mount Janu 11-1, money for that. Iha Nigali, Jim Bulger, money for that as well this morning. Hazel Bay is the favourite in that one. 755, Munjat is the favourite. But Royal Canford has been back this morning, as has Imposing Supreme. And the 825, money for a horse I backed to win at Leopardstown last time out. The day of the Valentine, we had the horse at Leopardstown. I backed Sneaky Getaway in the last race. It won, and there's money for it again this morning. 6-1 and 9-2 for Sneaky Getaway. The favourite is the King, odds on.
Okay, all right. Well, look at your carriage awaits, obviously, John. So thanks a million for all your coverage over the course of the week, and people can check out your blog, obviously, up on offtheball.com as well. So thanks a million for now. Take it easy, safe home.
All right, lads, take care. Cheers.
See you, John.
See you, John. Thanks a million. John Duggan on the line there from Galway. As you can see, Will O'Callaghan has joined us.
Morning, lads.
How are you getting on?
Good.
What have you got for us?
Yeah, well, look, it was a busy night in the Europa League last night. Unfortunately, Shamrock Rovers' campaign came to an end in the Cypriot heat. Aaron Green's second half goal forced extra time away to Applin Limassol. Great goal as well, but Rovers lost 3-1 on the night, 4-3 in aggregate in the end. Both teams ended that game with 10 men as well. Rovers defender Lee Grace picked up a second yellow card in extra time. Wolves will take on the Armenian side Punic in the next round after their 4-1 win away to Crusaders, completed a 6-1 aggregate win. Rangers will face the Danes of Michelin next after their scoreless draw against Progress Niederkorn, who knocked out Cork City in the last round. Stephen Gerrard's side go through 2-0 on aggregate there. Linfield beat Torshavn 1-0, 3-2 in aggregate, sets up a third round qualifying tie against the Montenegrin champions Suseska. Aberdeen completed a 6-1 aggregate win as well against Shikora, and they seal a tie against Rijeka of Croatia in the next round. Here at home tonight, Finn Harps will look to keep alive their survival hopes in the SSE Airtricity League Premier Division when they take on Bohemians at Ballybuffet. The bottom side UCD welcome Derry City to Belfield, while Cork City entertain St. Pat's. Big night for Robbie Keane as well. The English football season kicking off tonight. Middlesbrough travelled to newly promoted Luton Town. Luton were relegated from the second tier in 2007 and even dropped out of the EFL between 2009 and 2014. Borough will be playing their first competitive match under new boss Jonathan Woodgate, with Keane as his assistant. Manchester United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said that he is more than aware that they have to balance results with building for the future. United have embarked on the policy of looking to sign young talent during the current transfer window, although it looks like Harry Maguire might be signed before the deadline next Thursday. The former United boss Jose Mourinho admits his time at Old Trafford was difficult. He feels he was underappreciated as well. He was sacked as manager last December despite finishing second in the Premier League, and he had won the Europa League and the EFL Cup in his first season. Mourinho believes he deserved more credit for his time there. David Moran is back in the Kerry side for Saturday's Super 8's clash with Meath in Navan. The midfielder's return for Dermot O'Connor is the only change from the side that started the draw against Donegal a fortnight ago. The Kingdom need just a draw to be assured of a place in the semi-finals, but I'm sure they'll be going to try and get a victory in that one. Robbie Power helped upset the odds, as you mentioned, to claim yesterday's feature on Ladies' Day at Galway. He was aboard the 10-1 shot Tudor City, who edged the Galway hurdle with a strong finish. Today's feature at Ballybrit is the €70,000 Guinness Handicap. That's due off at 10-7. The first of a 7-race card off this evening at 5:10. The Group 2 King George Guitar Stakes is the highlight of the penultimate day of Glorious Goodwood. That's part of a 7-race card that gets underway this afternoon at 10-2. Seamus Power is well placed heading into day 2 of golf's Wyndham Championship as he looks to retain his PGA Tour card for next season. He's 6 under par after an opening round 64, and he's just 2 shots off the lead. Padraig Harrington is 2 under after his first round. And England will resume their first innings of the first Ashes Test, Adrian, on 10 without loss at Edgbaston this morning. The hosts eventually bowled out Australia for 284. It was after Steve Smith's knock of 144 helped them recover from what was a dreadful afternoon. Play in Birmingham today, getting underway at 11 a.m.
Great stuff. Thanks, William. Will, Dybala, good business, bad business, big wage demands?
I don't think it's going to make a massive difference to United. I really don't think it's going to make a massive difference. Good player. Where they're going to play him, how they're going to fit him into that system at United. Whereas United's, I hate using the terms, but identity. What they're going to do? I don't know. I think he's a good player.
Luxury.
I don't think it's going to make a massive difference to United. No, I don't. I think they've got to strengthen him much more areas that are much more priority. Yeah.
$350k a week.
Yeah,
expensive luxury.
It's about the same as Sanchez.
I was going to say he's going into, but he's
is that a?
No, but he's going in there though. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he ask for the same as Sanchez? Do you know what I mean? It's like a big signing. That's the marker for United or United signings when they're going into.
The thing that worried me as well, Kev, he doesn't seem particularly interested in moving. Like this idea that he was meeting with Sarri yesterday, talking about his future at the club. That does not look like a guy who wants to go. We saw with Angel Di Maria previously. If he doesn't want to go, as good a player as he could be, he's not going to perform.
Yeah, it's true. It's just. I don't think it's going to make a massive difference anyway. I just think it's one of those signings they're going to try and get in. It's a big name for United. It's going to appease certain aspects of the supporters, but no, I don't think it's a massive difference to them. It's not a game changer anyway.
Is he like there were signs last season that he's, even when we talk about a luxury, that he's not necessarily a player banging form.
He played really well against United, didn't he? At Old Trafford in the Champions League, he had a really, really good night then, and that was one of the rare nights that he'd had across the season because it never happened for him. The season before, when he was used as a 10, essentially, certainly as more advanced attacking midfielder, and he was getting goal-scoring positions. He played in a wider area last season. It didn't work. They signed Ronaldo. Ronaldo's a big signing. He's the main man. and he proved that across the season. So it's difficult for them both.
It's interesting as well, Adrian, because United don't really need a number 10 because Paul Pogba is likely to go into those areas where Dybala likes to play.
They don't play that way well. It's like the 4-3-3 that they play. 2 wide men. You can play him in a wide area. You have to build a team around him. United don't have the luxury of doing that, I don't think, anyway.
Have you read the Gerlach now piece yet?
I just had a scan of it, yeah. He's gone in 2-footed, or in with the hurl on this one. Jesus. It's amazing how such a small piece of commentary on the Sunday game last week has actually lasted all week.
I think that Derek McGrath has been very unfortunate to have been dragged into it, to be honest, because there was a bit of obviously rationalising his own tactics.
Do you don't think he wanted to go, right, I've had to listen to 2 years of people complaining.
Sure, but if he had done that without the John Bull comments that came before them, nobody would have batted an eyelid. It would have been a little bit of a ripple of Asher, look at he's just rationalising what happened beforehand, but there wouldn't have been as much commentary about it. I think he's unfortunate, to be fair.
Yeah, I do wonder as well, there's a part of Lucknow obviously leaving the Sunday game team and obviously having a go with the current new team. It was interesting what Donal Logue said yesterday as well, that he felt he was coming into like an old boys club when he joined RT's analysis team first of all, and that he got the feeling that they were saying, look, you agree with what we say and we'll get on just fine.
That's right, yeah.
So there's definitely a bit of behind the scenes and all this as well.
Mayor Donegal,
I think.
Oof. David Brady,
Kev.
Mayor Donegal.
Did I just hear that I'm supposed to agree with all you say and just and say nothing else?
He's right as well.
That's what it is.
Overwhelming favourites, David.
I have to agree with what you say.
What? So you're going for Donegal?
I don't know.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Donegal, to be honest. You have to put the cards on the table. And they're stacked against Mayo at this current moment in time, I suppose, on current form. On the way they've played, especially, I think the Kerry game down in Killarney was a major eye opener, and it's sporadic. And they're lacking a lot of players that are returning from injury. They're not in a good place, but, and that's another but. That's 3 buts. This is just when they are dangerous. Backs against the wall. Not a lot expected of them. It's probably it's not right to be writing them off, but it's a major test on Saturday, even big time. And I have to say you have to have confidence in the display from Donegal against Kerry in Croke Park 2 weeks ago. They are Ulster champions. Performing at an extremely consistent high level, which we haven't seen from Mayo. Mayo had reason, and they had kind of tribalism against Galway. That was something to get up for. And I think again, look at you have Stephen Rochford. You have to talk about that in the opposition camp. The one thing I will say about Stephen Rochford before I expand on it is that man has been bitten by the bug, and the bug is football, the coaching of it, the love of it. If you want an easy life, you sit at home. You don't drive from Ballinrobe to Donegal 2 or 3 times a week. But it's an advantage to Donegal for him to have been in the sanctuary of the Mayo team for the last 3 years to All Ireland, and probably it adds to the spice.
Yeah, and at the same time, like he will want, while all that might be true, he will want to go to Castlebar at the weekend and make a point, won't he?
Honestly, and I'm not being, I don't think it's about Stephen Rochford making a point. It's about him doing a job as good as he can. Tony Buckley is in the same situation. We've seen it from the Kerry perspective. He spent 7 years nearly with Mayo. It's not about making a point. It's not about getting one up or getting one over. It's about doing your best in the current job you're in, and that's the current role he's in as coach from a Donegal perspective. I don't think he will be. He's the coach. He's not the manager. He won't be calling the shots in the sideline and such. But it's about saying, you know what, you take a certain sense of pride in every game you win. It will be, I suppose, mixed emotions from Stephen if he does get over the line against his own county and his own team. But I don't think it's about Adrian. I don't think it's about getting one up. It's about, you know what, trying your best and seeing. Collectively, Donegal have a lot of strength, and Stephen definitely is one of their strengths.
if we talk about sort of form and momentum, and it's an absolutely reasonable point to make that all the form and momentum has been with Donegal up to this point, but actually, it's very possible that on Monday morning we're looking back saying, well, wasn't it obvious when Paddy McBrearty is either out or a 60% Paddy McBrearty and Owen Bon Gallagher are gone? And on the flip side, there's a lot of quality coming back into that Mayo team, maybe some of it indeed off the bench, that there are reasons to say here that Mayo are going to get it done.
Man, getting it done and having a massive chance. That's the thing. And you know, as you say, Paddy is playing injury. I do see him playing. Owen Bon is a big loss, massive loss from kind of a solid structural, defensive formation and such. We have, I think, the 2 weeks, regardless of who's coming back, the minds were tired against Kerry and Meath. The bodies were tired. And when you're going 4 games solid, you're going from Newry to Castlebar to Limerick to Croke Park, 4 games in 5 weeks. It's a lot. You know you're hanging on by your fingertips. And yes, there is players coming back. Keith Higgins, Paddy Durkin. They were a massive loss from a defensive formation. Matthew Rowan has been a massive loss. The moment he got injured, our midfield dynamic hasn't been functioning from a Mayo perspective. And I think if they try and get that right on Saturday evening, it will give them a foundation, because that foundation hasn't been there.
Yeah, and like we were chatting earlier on about, I mean, if you're Donegal coaching staff and management team heading down there at the weekend, you're like, listen, let's get into them early, quieten down the crowd. Castlebar isn't necessarily a fantastic venue for Mayo, oddly enough. That's the way to do it from a Donegal point of view, at them early.
Yeah, get at them early. I don't think, I do. I have heard the Mayo crowd quieten before, but it's very hard to quieten them, whether they're 3 or 4 points down. This is going to be fractious. This is I've seen it between the National League game, if you look back, and Kevin McLaughlin's last score to get a draw down in Ballybuffet. I've seen it 2 years ago in the 2017 National League game where Mayo needed to win. They had to win. There wasn't a lot of love lost, and there was yellow cards, 1 red. This is going to be tight, and it's you know what, we could be looking back, Adrian, on Monday morning saying, was that the mistake? Was that the moment that the game was lost? We've seen it from no perspective in the past, that they haven't held their composure. A red card, if it be Keith Higgins in Salt Hill, if it be Jim O'Connor in Castlebar, you have to hold your head, and there's going to be a lot of I suppose self-restraint needed on Saturday evening, but it's look, you can, I have never and never will write Mayo off.
In a word,
it's you know what, this is probably the most it's what the Super 8s would want to be. Last game, last chance saloon. It's not, look at it is Castlebar, but it's a sellout crowd. I have never, bar an All-Ireland final, had people ask me for tickets as often as I have in the last 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah, and there's all the talk about the goalkeeper and who's going to start. Just in one word, David, because we got to go, who are you calling?
Honestly, I think on form and current offering, you can't look past Donegal. It's not a draw that Mayo needs to need a win.
Right. Get out of here. We're not having it. Talk to you next week. Not having a bit of it. It's Mayo all day long. Talk to you next week.
See you, Adrian. God bless.
Good luck. David Brady on the line there, head of the game of the weekend. This is Yara Ing. I'm not having it. OTB AM, sponsored by Avantcard, powered by MasterCard. Delighted to have you along with us this morning. Will, thanks a million.
Thank you.
Kev, thanks to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Adrian.
The game of the weekend.
I will do. Games, yeah.
Donegal all day long.
Well, heavy favourites.
You ever hear such bullshit?
Heavy favourites.
Like, the difference is they can't pull it off because it's they're just trying to copy what happens with the Kerry lads. They just can't pull it off.
Obviously, watched the roadshow earlier this week when the Kerry lads and Dublin are only beat themselves. We can't win this All Ireland.
No, it's true though, isn't it? It's true. How can Mayo possibly win the game? How can they?
By scoring more points.
OTB Sports Radio live all day. We're back on air and online from 7 o'clock this evening. We're going to announce the winner of our Tennis Ireland competition later today as well, so stay tuned for that. We're going to leave you, however, here with a video that we wanted to play out with. Coming up on 9:30 of this Friday morning, we're at Off the Ball, proud partners of the 20x20 campaign, which is shifting the cultural perception of women's sport. We had our first Women's Sport Roadshow last month in partnership with 3. A brilliant night out, and a reminder as well that the very latest episode of Off the Bench, presented by Dina Foley, is out in the last couple of days. It's up on offtheball.com and our YouTube channel as well. Up-and-coming boxing stars Michaela Walsh, Aoife O'Rourke, Gráinne Walsh are Tina's guests, so well worth checking that out. It's up on offtheball.com. But right now, here's a sneak peek of the latest 20x20 video highlighting the role model nature of the Ireland defender Louise Quinn. Good morning.
O'Sullivan attacks. It's a big race between the two.
Sonia O'Sullivan in the Olympics 2000. They wheeled in the TV into the classroom. The joy, but then also the disappointment. She only got second, but she should have got first. When Katie Taylor was boxing in London, again, I remember watching that so vividly. Belief that that kind of dream can come true. I think I'm definitely conscious of being a role model now. Everyone on the Irish team, they are all role models. We are all role models now. I think that as players, if you can just do your bit, it can change everything.
OTB AM.
Brought to you by Avantcard Reward Plus Credit Card. Powered by MasterCard. Straight up better than your current credit card. Avantcard DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
OTB.